Hello, good morning everyone. Today we are going to discuss GS paper 1 analysis, and in this GS paper 1 analysis we will be discussing first the 6 questions which were asked in this civil service examination held on 2023, and we are having 3 different teachers who will be discussing different topic. Like Achha sir will discuss geography questions asked in civil service examination paper 1, and then Savas sir will discuss sociology, the Indian society. Okay. So, let us discuss that how, especially what are the different trends and patterns in which questions have been asked this time. Was there any change in the pattern of questions earlier? First of all, for 1 minute we will go through the syllabus, that what are the syllabus of GS paper 1 and what is the portion of history in GS paper 1, and then we will discuss about it. All right. So, if we go here, what we find about the syllabus, that this is the syllabus, especially it is a trend that UPSC has been asking questions from ancient and medieval India. So, sometimes there are one questions asked from ancient and one question is asked from medieval India, one question from medieval India, then about 2 to 3 questions, 2 to 3 questions is asked from modern India, and then sometimes they ask one question or even no questions, no questions from post independent India, and from world history they generally ask one questions, and sometimes even they do not ask. So, basically the trend is that they have been asking questions especially from all themes of modern, postmodern and world history, okay, but only from the ancient and medieval. Generally for the last 10 years they have been asking questions only from art and culture sections. If you see the especially the pattern, so they generally ask questions from art and culture in ancient and medieval India, like how the literary resources help us to understand Persian literature, Brahminical literatures and religions. Okay. So, these are the art and culture, architectures, techniques and all. So, these are the important art and culture part which have been asked from ancient and medieval India. So, let us have a look that how many questions have been asked in previous examinations. If you see this pattern, this is for the last 5 years. Okay. For the last 5 years, what we see is that in 2018 they asked 5 questions out of 20. So, this in GS paper 1 we have 20 questions. Out of 20 questions, one section is asked from geography, all right. The other question is asked from history. This is the second part, and the third Indian society. So, what happens out of these 20 questions for the last 5 years, especially what you see, in 18 5 questions were there, in 19 there were 3 questions, so it got down, but in again 2020 it is 5 questions, then we have 5 questions again in 2021, but 2022 we see 6 questions were asked from history, and this year, this 2003 mains examinations GS paper 1 we also have 6 questions. So, 6 question is asked from this one, but we see out of the 6 questions, out of the 6 questions, 3 questions were of 10 marks, which means 150 words, and 3 questions out of 6 were of 15 marks. So, the trend is that. So, let us see the previous year questions, and then we will go into this one. So, what we see here, so in the previous year questions, if you see, these are the patterns. So, these are the patterns of questions asked in 2018. In 2018, if you see, this question is related to art and culture. If you talk about the significance, and then the other points will be modern India. So, these questions are modern India. This question is from art and culture, and then this question is from modern India in 2018. If you see the 2022 paper, what you find, the first questions, it is related to the medieval Indian temples and sculptures represent the social life of those days. This is related to the first question related to art and culture. Then what you find, discuss the main contribution of Gupta period and Chola period, especially about the Indian heritage and culture. So, this is also art and culture part, and this the third one, lion and bull figures in the Indian history, mythology, art and culture. So, this is related to art and culture only, alright. So, these are trends. Art and culture had been dominative throughout the papers for the last 5 to 10 years, and especially in ancient and medieval India. So, now let us have a look at one by one, and then we will discuss what is the trends of this year. If you see this question paper, what you find, the question 1, this is a explain the role of geography, explain the role of geographical factors towards the development of ancient India. This is especially a question which are related to geography and history also. Okay, this is together geography and history, but this question is most important for history, because it is talking about that how in India got developed in ancient time geographically, that how geography in India helped India to be developing in ancient time. So, this is related to geographical history, but this is history only. Then what you find, the other question which on art and culture, especially if you come here, they are asking what are the main features of Vedic society, and especially they are asking two important components. One is society, and other component that they are asking is a religion. The society and religion is most important, and do we continue this system of Vedic feature in contemporary time? There was one question also asked in 2019, especially this was related to the Indus Valley civilization, that especially the urbanization of Indus Valley civilization is still there in modern times. So, they have been asking one question from ancient times and comparing with the modern also. This is most important for us, all right. So, one question we have going to see that this is related to art and culture. Other part, this is about the technological changes introduced in this time, and this is also related to especially the art and culture part of medieval India. So, this time also at least we are going to see that 2 questions out of 6 questions is asked from art and culture. 2 questions out of 6 questions is asked from art and culture. One is from a geographical history, and then one is from Mahatma Gandhi and Tagore, and the other questions that we are going to see, it is related to a world history. Okay. This question, especially if you talk about, it is about the socio-economic effects of introduction of railways in the different parts of the world. So, now we have seen that 6 questions are asked, and what is happening, let us see again the syllabus. So, according to syllabus, what is happened, if we see this one in this syllabus. So, from the ancient time art and culture, from the art and culture, this time one question is asked from ancient India, one question is asked from medieval India, one question is asked from world history. Okay. And then what we find, there is one question which is related to geographical history, So, this question is also asked from ancient time, this question is also asked from ancient India. So, we are going to have 2 questions are asked from ancient India, one is related to directly art and culture, other is independent questions, and then we are going to 1, 2, 3, 4 and 2 questions are from modern India. So, we see the patterns and the syllabus are same, the patterns and the syllabus are same. So, what are we going to do? We are going to take all these 6 questions here and we will do one by one. So, all these 6 questions let us go one by one and let us discuss that how we can solve these questions. Okay. All right. So, if we see, let me change the color of my pen. If we see, what we find, the first question is explain the role of geographical factors towards the development of ancient India. In this questions, basically we should point out that how geographically India got united. This is the question in Plutus IAS. Whenever we start our syllabus, we start with this question only. There is a video on YouTube especially, and how we got united. It is made by me, by Plutus IAS, and especially this talks about that we start discussing our history syllabus from this topic only, and this is a very interesting and this is a very easy question for us. So, how we will write when we try to attempt these questions? First of all, since this question is of 150 words, we should start writing from introduction. So, in the introduction what we have to do? We have to define that how India had been developed through geography. So, first of all we should look at that diverse geographical aspects. We should focus that India had been developing through a diverse landscape, that India has a diverse landscape, river system, so these are the things we can mention in the introductions, and then we will find out that how these things help us to understand. Okay. So, especially from the ancient time, then we should focus on the body of the answers. In the body of the answer, we should be focusing on some of the important points which help India to become united throughout the time. We know that India had been there from the historical time. In the Paleolithic period, the people used to live in these areas. Geography played a very important role. So, let us discuss one by one. So, firstly we will write about Himalaya. We will write about Himalaya, that how Himalaya played an important role in the development of India. First of all, you can write about that how India had been barrier towards the climatic and politically also. Suppose the winds which were coming from Russian and the Chinese region were not coming into India due to Himalaya. So, we should write about Himalaya. So, it wind, and then we have a through Himalaya rainfall control is most important in India. Politically, it is especially it had stopped the foreign invasions. We know that the foreign invasions occur in India, but many places it was the time when it had stopped it. Okay. So, Himalaya played a very important role. So, we should write about Himalaya first. Then we should go into the writing about especially passes. The passes that happen in India, and we can talk about two important passes here. One is a Khyber Pass, and then other we can talk about Bolan. So, Khyber and the Bolan Pass is most important, through which all foreigners came to India. All foreigners came to India in ancient time, and especially this will lead to the cultural exchange. The cultural and trade exchange. So, we should be writing about that how Khyber Pass and Bolan Pass played a very important role geographically. Then we can talk about rivers, mountains and forest. These are the important points which had been playing very important role in Indian history. So, we should be talking about these things. These things are very much important, that these had especially played a very important role in the flourish of regional culture. Then we should write about the Vindhyans mountain, okay, which is in the Deccan part. So, fourth point we can write about Vindhyas mountain, especially these are the mountains which played a very important role, because the northern people, if you talk about Maurya, could control for few years only in the south. Then we Gupta, Satavahanas, okay, Indo-Greeks, Delhi Sultanate controlled south for few years only after Alauddin Khilji, during the time Alauddin Khilji, and then again after Muhammad Tughlaq it become independent. The Chola and the Bahmani kingdom and then Vijayanagara kingdom could not come to North India because of this. So, Vindhyas are very important. So, this was a barrier between the north and south in ancient time. Okay. The Indo-Aryan people, when they came here, then they could not go into the south. So, these are the important points. Delhi Sultanate, the Mughals we can talk about, Vindhyans are very important in the ancient time. Then we can talk about extensive coastline. The fifth point is the extensive coastline, and what we will write here, due to the extensive coastline, especially from two important, we have Bay of Bengal and Arabian Sea. This led to the trade and commerce. This led to trade and commerce flourishing in ancient time, and especially if you talk about the Chola Empire, through the coastal line only the Chola become imperial empire. imperial empire, because they had colonies in Maldives also, Sri Lanka also, and Southeast Asia also. So, we should be focusing on these points which are very much important. After this, we can write about the mineral resources. That these are the 6 points: mineral resources. So, in the mineral resources, suppose we have iron. If we talk about iron ore, we know that in 600 BC there is a Sistine Mahajanpad in India, all right. So, out of this Sistine Mahajanpad, Magadha become very prominent, because Magadha had mineral resources of iron in Bihar and Jharkhand regions. So, due to the iron, it led to the development of agriculture, which flourished trade, and with the flourishing of trade, what happened? The empire became powerful, because empire was getting taxes from the people. So, agriculture, trade, taxes made empire powerful. Empire can maintain now army, and then Magadha empire become very powerful in the 5th century, 4th century, and then you know that Magadha had captured all the Sistine Mahajanpad areas, and when Chandragupta Maurya became the king, he had his control in the northwestern part of India also, after defeating Seleucus Nicator. So, we can be discussing that the iron, especially it is mineral resources iron, then we have gold in south, gold, then gold especially from Kolar region. So, these are the important points we can be writing, and then in the introductions, after doing this, we can say thus geographically, like thus the geographical factors not only facilitated Indian growth, but also made it hub for trade and commerce, cultural exchange, and the emergence of diverse civilizations in ancient India. So, this is the way, this is the most important questions, and these were the predictable questions and asked in the civil service examination. Later have a discussion on the different questions, all right. If you see this question, what was the difference between Mahatma Gandhi and Rabindranath Tagore in there? So, firstly we have two key points, one is Mahatma Gandhi, second is Rabindranath Tagore, and then we have two approach, one is education and then nationalism. Do you know how we should approach this question? First of all, we should write an introduction. In the introduction, we should say that approach, okay. Approach of Gandhi on education. That what is his idea of education? Then we said the approach of Tagore on, let us say, nationalism. Approach of Tagore on educations. Then we should write approach of Gandhi on nationalism, and then approach of Tagore on nationalism. Okay. So, through this method we can just conclude this within 3 lines. We can write an introduction that this is a method of Gandhi, this is a method of Ambedkar. Okay. And now we will go into, we can go into especially the differences between two persons, and then we should take these words. Okay. How we can do? So, now in the body we should write educational approach. Educational approach, or we can say educational differences. Okay. In these educational differences, what we can say, we can just write about Gandhi, that this is the idea of Gandhi, and then this is the idea of Tagore. If you see, for example, we can use this one. What is the idea of Gandhi? Let us say Gandhi was especially focusing on Indian culture through education. Okay, he was trying to focus on the Indian culture through education. Tagore especially wanted to produce saints and ideal individuals, that especially Indians. Gandhi wanted to promote especially the common man for the social benefit. So, he wanted to use education for the social development in India, while Tagore was focusing especially on the individual ideals and individual ideals. This is one such concept. Other important point, that Tagore was especially supporting modern science. Okay. So, in education Tagore was supporting modern science, but especially in case of Gandhi, Gandhi was completely against modernity, especially he was against machine, he was against railway, he was technology, and he wanted to become simplicity. So, in education he was following simplicity, while Tagore was following modern science. Okay. If we talk about Gandhi was talking about Nai Talim, matlab he wanted to focus on learning and activity through creativity. So, he was focusing that we should focus on the idea of practicality instead of the drive-in learning, right. Gandhi, especially Tagore, was supporting the idea of driving learning. So, we can say this driving learning and these are the differences. Okay. Then we shall say Gandhi was talking about the centralized activity. Okay. Gandhi was talking that there should be a creative freedom with limit in education. Matlab, in the education system, the students should have freedom, but with limitations. But whereas Tagore was talking that no, the students should have complete freedom in education. So, these are the main 4 to 5 keywords we can be writing. The first keyword example in this here about the modern science, that critical of modernity, especially in terms of machine. He was supporting modern science. The other important keyword, he wanted to promote social development. He wanted to promote social development through educations, while especially Tagore was wanted to have individual liberty. This person is talking about freedom in education, but he is talking about complete freedom in education, So, this is the 4 or 5 points we can be writing about educations in at this idea, and then he is talking about we should learn through practicality. So, we should learn on practicality, but here the person was drive-in force, drive-in learning, which was supported by Pluto. So, these are the important points we can be writing on the, there is a major differences on education between Gandhi and this person Tagore. Then what we see, we should do the other topic, that is on national differences, the idea on nationalism. Okay. So, when we talk about the idea of nationalism, what is the different idea on Gandhi and Tagore? So, what we see in terms of Gandhi idea of nationalism very different, especially he wanted to have nationalism, and according to Gandhi the main purpose of nationalism should be serving humanity. The nation means here the humanity, while Tagore was critical of this narrow and selfish nationalism which was in India. Tagore was critical to the narrow and selfish idea of nationalism in India. Gandhi was supporting a means of serving humanity. Gandhi was complete in support of no armed nationalism. Okay, there he was supporting this, especially ahimsa is the most important feature of nationalism according to Gandhi. Satya and ahimsa, on that basis he wanted to work, and his idea was satyagraha. Okay, satyagraha. जब इनकी बात करें, especially Tagore was talking that there should not be any power politics in the nationalism. Power politics is the important points about according to Tagore. Especially here, this person Gandhi is talking that Indian nationalism should be used to provide principle of justice, principle of service, and the principle of humanity towards the people. So, through the Indian nationalism, Gandhi wanted to achieve the idea of justice, idea of humanity, and the idea of service. Whereas, if you talk about Tagore wanted to focus on the higher human values, that every should be getting right in nationalism. Here, especially you can take one example, that suppose when the peasants issue came in the 1930s, when the peasant leaders approached Gandhi to talk about that, especially please support the peasant problems in Bihar. Gandhi main interest was nationalism here, the peasant issue was not main agenda for Gandhi, whereas Tagore was focusing on the every individual. So, okay, so this is the main points we can be writing in the introductions. We can say it is about the main purpose of nationalism according to Gandhi should be serving humanity. About Tagore, we can say he criticized narrow and selfish nationalism, nationalism which was there in India at that time. Other point, Tagore especially says that there should be a, that nationalism should especially integrate and it should focus on the higher values of individuals we can be writing about. But Gandhi, especially Gandhi, was focusing on the idea of that Indian nationalism should provide justice. Then we have humanity. So, justice and humanity is the most important point we can writing about. So, we can take 3-4 examples here and then we can conclude by saying that though Gandhi and Tagore shared different ideas on education and nationalism in India, but they both were patriots and humanistic. Both were worried about the tyranny of power of the colonial rule and both were trying to bring development in India. So, both were patriots and both were humanistic, and especially whether they share different ideas, but both agenda were especially the freedom of India. So, this is the way we can conclude these writings. There were some differences, but the similarity is most important. So, through this way we can write about it. Okay. So, this is the way we can solve these questions. Let us have a look on other question. If we see this question, bring out the socio-economic effect of the introduction of railways in different parts of the world. How we can start? Especially we can say introduction. In the introduction, we can be writing both that we have a, it brought a revolutionized. So, it had revolutionized transportation system. We said it has both negative and positive impact. And then we can take up the question through the world perspective. In the body we can write, firstly we will write the positive one, that there is a positive impact. So, what we will write in the economy, we can say in the economy we can just say it brought, when the railway lines came, it developed industries. So, what will happen? The industrialization came. Okay. Then what will happen? Industrialization will lead to urbanization. So, from industrialization we will have urbanizations. From urbanizations we will have population growth. Population growth will happen. Then there will be urbanization and industrialization. These all things will especially lead to the job opportunity. So, the people have jobs, so they will have now better lifestyle. So, this is the, we can take one examples of the positive impact. What we can say, suppose we have a, especially the Trans-Siberian, we can take examples, Trans-Siberian railway line, then we have Trans-Saharan railway line. We can be taking examples. Then when in America, when railway line came, especially the Chicago become the important city, and Chicago city provided many job opportunities in that time. So, we can take the example of Chicago. The Chicago is the most important. In the job we can say the Indian railway especially provide 1.4 million jobs to the people. So, this economic impact is most important. So, we can write about the firstly economic impact, then we will go urbanizations, then we will say that the employment opportunity is important. Apart from it, so this is a positive economy, then we can say in this impact we can be writing the cultural exchange. Cultural exchange. What will happen in the cultural exchange? In the cultural exchange, you can just write about that, suppose in USA, in India, and in India, especially when the railway line constructed, the map was made, the people had imagination especially that we are same. When there was a railway lines constructed everywhere in India, the people started imagining that we all are same. So, we can write about the cultural exchange about these people, and then we can write about the especially the removal of barriers. Suppose that in India what was happening, the people, so it become 1, cultural exchange 2, 3, and these are the other points, and then removal of barriers, removal of barriers. So, we can be writing about these points in these questions. Okay. Apart from it, we can move into the other aspect, that is the negative. In the negative, what we say, especially in the negative aspect, it was the tools of exploitation. So, exploitation was happening, exploitation was happening. It was a colonial domination, like the Britishers had, especially if you talk about this trans-Saharan lands. This trans-Saharan land was made in Africa to transport minerals from Africa to Europe. So, it was a symbol of exploitations. Then especially they had disrupted tribals people, they had disrupted whom? Tribal people. They have disrupted environment, they have cut down trees, national resources are damaged. So, these are the things we can be writing about in these questions, and then we will conclude especially that railways were the most, like the railways were not only the means of transportation that had revolutionized transportation system or that has reshaped landscape, economy, society and culture, but it was also a mode and the medium of transition which it had significantly influenced. It had influenced urbanization, it has influenced industrialization, and it had expanded trade system in that time. So, this is the way, these are the things we can be writing about in these questions. Okay. So, let us have a different questions, have a look on the different question. If you take this question, what are the features of Vedic society and religion? This is the thing that we have done, we have read in detail in our Plutus IAS coaching classes. Here what we can say in the introduction, we can just write about. So, this is a Vedic period, first of all, Vedic society and religion. Vedic society divided into two parts. One is a early Vedic and other is a later Vedic. One is from 1500 to 1000 BC and it is from 1000 BC to 600. So, we can say in the introduction we can write about these things, and then what we say that this is a Vedic period in which we found many changes from the early Vedic to later Vedic period. Many changes were there, and especially in the society and religion. These things are also found in modern Indian society. So, this is the thing we can start writing introduction and conclude in writing of introduction. Then we will move into body, and in the body we can take 5 to 6 important aspects of ancient Indian culture and society of this time, and then we can conclude this writing. So, what are the important points we can take? First of all, the first point we can take is a polytheistic belief. So, let us see first. So, one was a polytheistic belief. Do you know, in this polytheistic, what we say that the belief in multiple gods, in Vedic times are also available in this time. Suppose 3 Dev, Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh are also there in the Vedic times, it is also here. For example, Agni, then we have example of Indra. Okay. So, these are the gods which are very much important from the ancient time to the modern time. So, Indra, Agni, Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh, which are called as Rudra, Pasupati. So, these are the examples we can talking about the gods, that these gods are still there in the modern time. This is one example. Other example we can take, especially the ritual and sacrifice is still there from the ancient time to the modern. Ritual and sacrifice is still here. Then we can be talking about Varna system is still here. We know that in the ancient India Varna system is there. So, division was on the basis of caste. In the later Vedic period was there, and here in also India we have these beliefs are here. Then we can have the fourth point, we can write Gurukul system of ancient India. So, Gurukul system of ancient India is still here in the modern India. Then what we see, the other points we can write about the patriarchal society. So, patriarchal society we have evidence from the ancient time. They were, especially in the early Vedic period, the women's status was very nice, but in the later Vedic period the status of women was changing, है ना? It become a patriarchal society. So we can be writing about these are the important components, and these are important from the society and economy from the ancient time to the modern time, and then you can give examples. So in each point you will take that these are the important features from ancient time, and these features are still there in the modern time. In the introduction especially you can write that these needs to be changed or this should not be changed. It all depends on you that how you are writing. You can write especially that from the ancient Vedic society and religion, our society is very much dependent on this society, but these things needs to be changed. It all depends that how are going to attempt this question. You can be critical of this Vedic times, that what are the critical, or you can talk about these are something change which are now good as compared to the Vedic society. So we can attempt these questions through this manner. All right. So let us have a discussion on the next question, that is the fifth questions of history today. In this question, what do you find? What are the major technological changes introduced during the Sultanate period? How did these technological changes influence the Indian society? What do you find in this? In this you can write especially that firstly we will write that how change happened. So in the introduction we can say that the period of 750 to 1200, okay, which is always is debated like a dark age where urban centers decline. So we can write about this thing, urban centers decline. Then what happened? In 1206 Delhi Sultanate was founded and it changed a different system. Okay, Delhi Sultanate was from 1206 to 1526. So these are things you write, and they, with the coming of Turkish people, in India, there was major changes happening in ancient India. So you can be writing about these things, and then you can move into the writing about the main bodies of the answer. So in the main body you can take some of the 5 to 6 important technological development happened in Delhi Sultanate, and then you can conclude this answer. So what are the major changes you will take? So let us discuss one by one in brief. The first, agriculture. So there is a development in agriculture, and this played a very important role. These all things impacted the society of that time. So we can be writing about these important points. In agriculture, they are having the Persian wheels. Okay. So in the introduction, they had Persian wheels were introduced. Then we have drudge-a secondary, which were used for mapping land. These are the important innovations in agriculture. Then we will take the second point, that is textiles. So in the textile industry, so what are the major points happen is that we can write about that one, that spinning wheel came. Spinning wheel were introduced, spinning wheels, especially charkha were introduced. This had given jobs and all. Then we can say there is a 6 times more production. 6 times more productions started happening with the coming of charkha after the Delhi Sultanate. Then we can talk about the metallurgy. Metallurgy is important point for us. So we can writing about metallurgy. What I mean metallurgy? Especially some important points were coming in this time. Vertical bone pits were came. Now vertical bone pits came. Deep mines were happening. Even, and then there is a system of pulley. The pulley system came, and through the coming of the pulley system, what was happening, that they can extract more mineral resources from, especially from the mines. So metallurgy development was there. This is important point. After that we can write there is a paper. So the introduction of paper happened. The paper came in the 13th century. So So with the coming of paper, what will happen? With the coming of paper, now they can bring books, they can write books. So the it was the main language and the many books were written, especially the books were written, many literature came into existence, these all things give job to the people. After that we can create, there was a wine distillation. In the fourth point will be wine distillation. Now they can make wine distillation. So what will happen? They can use a fragmentation method. They can use a fragmentation method to make wine. So these are the important points we can discuss here. Then other important was silk production. Silk production we can writing about, and then the constructions we can write about. So the building construction were most important in this time. In the building construction, what we can say, they brought arches and domes. Okay, these people especially had used material called gypsum. So gypsum and limestone were the first time used by the people. So these are the main technological development happened in the Delhi Subcontinent time, and then we can say that these all technical development, you can when you write all these points, you say that what is the impact. We can say that these provided job to the people, these had changed the society. Okay, this has revolutionized everything. Now the people have different type of mosques can be constructed, the temples can be made. Okay, the wine was available through fragmentation method at that time. So these are the major examples we can be talking about these things. Okay, let us have a discussion on this question. How did the colonial rule affect tribals in India, and what was the tribal response? So what we say here, we can write introduction. In the introduction we can write the meaning, that especially how British rule established, in India, then its policies. We can write its policies towards tribals, and then the tribal people response. The tribal people response towards the British policy in the form of revolts. So this is the introduction we can write. In the body, what we can write, we will take two examples. One, we will take that in the body we can write these are the policies and response. So policies impact will be important point. So these are the policy impact and these are the response of the tribal people towards the British government. So in this here we can just write, what can be write, that the people got important factors here. So how will we will write the sovereignty and sovereignty and autonomy of the tribal people was targeted. So we can write about, and in this they had revolted, like Veal and Coal rebellion as such example, where the tribals had revolted in the British Empire through the Veal and Coal rebellion. We can write about. The other important point is the land and resources. So especially land and resources are the important point on which the impact happened from the British policy and the people had revolted. So Bishnoi rebellion is one such examples. Then we can about culture and religion. So there is impact on their culture and religion also. And then we can write about the D point, that is a displacement and exploitation. So these people were displaced. Okay, displacement and exploitation. So we can say these are the four important impact of the British policies on the tribals, and in these impacts the tribals had responded through revolts. And then we can be right, we should give some examples of the revolts, that how these people have revolted in the British Empire. So let us have a look on some example, like there was a Tamar revolt. So we can write that there was a Tamar revolt, which happened in 1789 to 1830s onwards. Okay. We can write about Kherwar, which happened 1833. We can write about Santhals. The Santhal revolt happened between 1855. Birsa Munda revolt, we can write Birsa Munda revolt, which started in 1895 to 1901. Okay. Then we can write about the other important revolts. These are the important revolts we can be writing about. Wheel and coal revolts we can write, and then we can write about the participation, their participation in national movement. All right. So, these are the examples. First of all, we should write introduction, how the policies were made, how this policy affected tribals, and then they responded in the forms of rebellion. These are the important impacts we can write about. These are the important impacts, and then we can give examples of some important rebellions that were happening in the modern time in the British people, and then they will say in the conclusion you will write that there are many impacts on the people, and after the impact the people have responded in the form of revolts, and these are the examples of these revolts, and through this we can conclude this answer. We can conclude the answer that British adopted many policies, these had affected the people, and the people had responded through these independent struggles happened in the 19th century, and in the 20th century they got united under the bannership of Indian National Congress, and then they had participated in the Indian struggle for independence, and then they had been struggling against the British policies. Okay. So, this is the way we can solve these questions. Now, we will take another topics, that is geography, and Akshay sir will discuss in more detail about the questions which were asked in the GS paper 1 from geography portion, and then after that Shahbaz sir will be joining here. Okay, students. So, if there is any questions you can write in the comment and we will get back to you. Thank you. Yes. Hello guys. Yes, it seems Shumel, Apurva, yes, Ram. So, we are discussed about, you guys discussed about, right? Jitendra sir must have discussed about those questions asked in history section. 6 questions asked in that is what for history section, then 8 to 9 question you will find that is for geography, and again like 6 question for society. So, geography as usual guys you must be aware about, देखो हर साल you will find in geography almost 8 questions as in 4, that is a usual trend you will find 10 marker 4, 15 marker 4. So, in and all 8 questions and you will find like into 10 into 15. So, ये हो जाएगा 40 and 60. So, in and all the overall weightage for geography it stands around 100 marks. Yeah, it stands around 100 marks as in, and this year if you follow like 16, 17 and further onward you will find for geography the weightage that is given is almost this way. Okay, almost this way. कोई एक exceptional 2018, 19 में कुछ you will find 9 questions were there.
And now in this particular year as well, you will find as such 9 questions, those I personally find, right, in connect with the geography. One question जो already history में cover किया ही है वैसे आपने, that the role of geographical factors in the development of ancient India, है ना? So that question you will find that is partly of the history and more focus or the active role is actually for those geographical factor. But I hope already वो question discuss कर लिया है sir ने, so you guys must be having that pretty much clarity over it. Now, say now before going to discuss this thing, right, that is a usual practice of ours के पहले हम syllabus भी वाला case देख लेंगे कि syllabus exactly and whether those all questions, right, they find a connect with the syllabus or not. Okay, so just for that case, yeah, hello Pavni, yes, Ankur, a very good afternoon guys. So like the very first syllabus of this GS geography, you will find 3 critical points जो कि हम generally class में भी वैसे देख ही लेते हैं, but फिर भी the salient features of world physical geography, this is what the very first section. Second, distribution of key natural resources across the world and that too in India as well. Okay, so that is what the second section, that is including Indian South Asia, Indian subcontinent, factors responsible for location of primary, secondary and tertiary industry, that forms a part of second itself. And then third, you will find the important geophysical phenomena such as earthquakes, tsunamis, volcanic activity, cyclones, etc., their geographical features and their location changes in critical geographical features and in flora, fauna and the effects of such changes. That is what you will find third key point of syllabus. And now we have to verify really all those questions those were asked, right, those are asked in this particular examination, whether do they subscribe to this syllabus or not. And as usual you know guys कि देखो syllabus का importance UPSC always, okay, keep you know at the center itself. I personally feel जो paper frame होता है वो 2 केस से ही होगा, right, keeping 2 sources. The first is syllabus, right, and the second is current affairs. Okay, so इस दोनों का combination or maybe some theoretical base, you will find that ultimately that is getting reflected in this particular section. Geography या कोई भी और भी paper ले लोगे आप तो you will find the same weightage. Okay, so now keep these 3 points as in, right, and well then check whether it is subscribed to that particular area or not. Now the first question, discuss the consequences of climate change on food security in tropical countries, 10 marks. And you know basically ये फूड सिक्योरिटी एंड क्लाइमेट चेंज, राइट, देखो इसमें अगर आप लास्ट वीक हिंदू न्यूज़पेपर इफ यू हैव गॉन थ्रू, you will find that is an article given over typically on this climate change and food security, because there is like anticipation that the next year or maybe say this particular the further seasons now having influence of El Nino and it then will lead to impact on food security as in. अगर आप लास्ट वीक का न्यूज़पेपर देखोगे, देखो वहाँ पे दे रखा है ये सब चीज़, राइट, इट इज एब्सोल्युटली विल फाइंड दैट कंटेक्स्ट विद. एंड एनीवे climate change is highly current affair now. I personally feel that is not like any current affair issue, that is what now day to day affairs. तो इस पे क्वेश्चन तो बनना ही है. Now say what UPSC tried for, UPSC tried for just your connect with this climate change and food security. See, अब how to approach this question first. 10 marker है, 150 words है, that means now you are not supposed to explain it like in very much detail. The first thing, you need to keep yourself diverse as possible. कि जितने ज़्यादा point create करोगे, जितने ज़्यादा points mention करोगे, right, dimensional points, socio political, economical, environmental, okay, so those way you will be getting then good enough mark. Now see, introduction. See, for this type of question what I personally feel कि it's good to start it with the data, yeah, क्योंकि अगर कोई आपके पास बिलीव लाइक ए ग्लोबल न्यूट्रिशन रिपोर्ट, राइट, दैट इट टॉक्स अबाउट क्लाइमेट चेंज एंड फूड सिक्योरिटी, this gives you an extra, right, the apt introduction an extra advantage, okay, advantage in a sense, because you have added that report or fact to just validate what question is asking for. तो देखो हर क्वेश्चन को एज यू नो कि हर क्वेश्चन का ना इंट्रोडक्शन, कंक्लूजन, मेन बॉडी वो चेंज होता है जस्ट बेस्ड ऑन द नेचर ऑफ क्वेश्चन. सो this particular question, right, it's good to start it with the report, right, और कोई I believe और कोई different way नहीं हो सकता जो इसके लिए effective होगा. ठीक है. In main body what, so like according to that report already say like few millions of individuals, right, to millions of individuals, they are already suffering due to climate change and food security. I particularly find this context of the question कि मैडागास्कर में ना first climate change led drought आया है, like in 2022 December, October, November, December. So this question is just like this is what tagged as very first evidence of climate change led disaster, okay, that directly connected with. So this question is absolutely fine with. Now main body, see देखो question में कुछ keywords है. First, it is asking for consequences. Second, climate change and food security, and that too in tropical countries. Now you have to limit yourself with the tropical countries. देखो question is asking you for the consequences. It means you need to write directly, right? कि how or in what ways actually it is influencing. But I personally find कि यहाँ पे how लिखना भी important है. How in sense what? कि climate change कैसे फूड सिक्योरिटी पे इम्पैक्ट कर रहा है. सी गाइस, क्लाइमेट चेंज इट इज बाय मींस ऑफ डिक्लाइनिंग एग्रीकल्चर प्रोडक्टिविटी, इट्स बाय मींस ऑफ इंक्रीजिंग क्रॉप डिसीजेस और ह्यूमनली डिसीजेस एज वेल. इट इम्पैक्ट्स ऑन से ड्यू टू इंक्रीजिंग इंटेंसिटी ऑफ डिजास्टर. फिर क्या होगा, फूड एक्सेसिबिलिटी और सप्लाई में इशू होगा, राइट. देन यू विल फाइंड क्लाइमेट चेंज ट्रांसपोर्टेशन में इम्पैक्ट होगा, यस. स्टोरेज एंड all those issues you will find lead to impact on food security as in. I know guys, see, because it is not possible to discuss each and every point over here because paper भी discuss करना है, that too you know I am supposed to give you as many dimensions as possible, but still इसके model answers भी रहेंगे जो आपको available हो जाएंगे. ठीक है. So you can further verify or further go into that particular model answer just for the case कि answer right कैसे करना है. ठीक है. What that's supposed to be mentioned. So how I am supposed to write, right, or you are supposed to write as well, एक just like 1 or 2 lines में कि how it leads to this way or how it impacts on food security, and now how it lead to actual consequences. Actual consequences. देखो actual consequences में you are having 2 options. You can write in 2 ways. एक तो क्या कर लो, हर रीजन की केस स्टडी ले लो. केस स्टडी ऑफ ट्रॉपिकल कंट्रीज, साउथ अमेरिका, then Africa, West Africa, East Africa, South Asia, that particular part you can have it and write just in accordingly. You can connect it with the prices of tomato, right? अभी जो इंडिया में था, अनियन के प्राइसेस वैसे भी है, या मैडागास्कर का जो ड्रॉट है वहाँ पे कनेक्ट कर सकते हो. You can find like say what happens in South America as well, okay, inflation and that particular case. So you can write in terms of a case study for each of this region. जो भी world map में you can draw their reference respective maps you are supposed to, right? Then South Asia, Africa, then America, South America, right? ये वाला part आप connect कर सकते हो and you can write. Or else what you can as well do, right? You can as well opt for like actual consequences in terms of how it affects nutrition, how it affects accessibility. See, फूड एंड एग्रीकल्चर ऑर्गेनाइजेशन है FAO, एंड यू मस्ट बी अवेयर अबाउट कि फूड एंड एग्रीकल्चर ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में 3 डायमेंशंस दिए फूड सिक्योरिटी के. एक है एक्सेसिबिलिटी, एक है से अवेलेबिलिटी ऑफ फूड एंड टाइमली सप्लाई ऑफ फूड, राइट. 3 डिमेंशंस है. यू कैन एज वेल आंसर ओके दिस इन दिस 3 डिमेंशन, टाइमली सप्लाई ऑफ फूड. अगर ये इम्पैक्ट हो रहा है कॉन्सिक्वेंसेज, you will find that impact on overall food security of the region, led to a death toll, led to a migration of people, and just like in accordance with. So you can connect this way as well, and at the end, right, conclusion. In conclusion, what you need to mention guys solutions. आपको इसमें solutions लिखने होंगे. Solution in a sense what, how this climate changes could be mitigated by following Paris deal, by following net zero commitments, by following climate smart agriculture, by following transportation and effective means, by the support of the subsidies and supportive hands of the state government. क्योंकि पुअर्स के लिए फिर अल्टीमेटली हमको फूड सिक्योरिटी इंश्योर करना, दैट इज प्रीटी मच नीडेड फॉर, या. तो इन सोल्यूशन यू नीड टू कनेक्ट इट विद द एट द एंड SDG2. देखो गाइज, आई एम टेलिंग यू, जब तक भी आप SDG, कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन या कोई फ्रेजेस से कनेक्ट नहीं करोगे कंक्लूजन में, कंक्लूजन वोंट बी लुक दैट इंप्रेसिव इनफ. सो ऑलवेज ट्राई टू कनेक्ट इट विद दी ईदर ऑफ SDGs हो सकता है, या कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल गोल्स हो सकता है, या कोई एक कैची फ्रेज हो सकती है, या प्राइम मिनिस्टर की कुछ, या किसी भी डिग्नेटरी के कोई स्टेटमेंट्स हो सकता है, या. सो यू कैन एब्सोल्युटली कनेक्ट इट विद. आई होप ये पॉइंट्स आपको क्लियर है, ओके, एंड यू विल बी गेटिंग मॉडल आंसर, सो आपको और भी चीज़ें क्लियर रहेगी उस केस में. फाइन. सो फर्स्ट क्वेश्चन, एंड आई फील इंटरेस्टिंग एज वेल, मोर एनालिटिकल इन नेचर. नेक्स्ट, why is the world today, means current affair based and absolutely contemporary time, confronted with the crisis of availability and of access to fresh water resources? देखो सिलेबस से तो पॉइंट है रिसोर्सेस में, ठीक, जो हमने देखा था सिलेबस में वर्ल्ड रिसोर्सेस वाला ये पॉइंट है एब्सोल्युटली कनेक्ट विद, तो सिलेबस से तो ये सब्सक्राइब कर ही रहा है. नाउ द थिंग इज, क्वेश्चन इज आस्किंग यू फॉर, टेल मी द रीजन फॉर व्हाई this crisis of availability and access is there for fresh water. Now I believe, देखो अब दो एरिया है जहां पे आपको कुछ पॉइंट जनरेट करने हैं. What? The crisis of availability, that what those factors made this availability difficult, and what makes those factor access to even available water. Getting it guys? देखो दो चीज में डिफरेंस है, ओके. I hope you guys must have properly try to decode the demand of the examination or this particular question, that it talks about crisis of availability. It means कि water naturally ही क्या crisis में है या availability में नहीं है, right? Like say for example, if you find Sahara desert, Thar desert, they are naturally deficient of this region, while like there are many regions where water is enough available, like in Amazon, like in Western Ghat, like in any other part of the world, right, that reach. However, the people or the population don't have enough access to it. Why? There are number of factors. Like के factors देखेंगे हम वैसे, तो introduction कैसे करोगे? Again, for this current contemporary based type of question, it's good to start with what? Data. It's good to start with data. How? See, अगर लिखोगे कि जैसे फॉर एग्जाम्पल लाइक एशिया, राइट, इवन दो लार्जेस्ट कॉन्टिनेंट है हैविंग द लीस्ट फ्रेश वाटर रिसोर्सेज अवेलेबल, और इंडिया विच होस्ट 18% ऑफ वर्ल्ड पॉपुलेशन हैज 4%, मीगर 4% ऑफ वाटर रिसोर्सेज ओवर इट, राइट. तो ये कुछ है ना, ये जो कॉन्ट्रोवर्सी, आर यू गेटिंग? सो दिस आर शोइंग टू डाइवर्ट एंड और टू डिफरेंट एंड्स एज इन, एंड देन इट हेल्प्स यू, राइट, टू validate this fact that yes, absolutely we are confronted with the fresh water crisis. Yeah. फिर main body data से start करोगे, then in main body you will find you need to mention there should be a connecting linkage statement. Yeah. Don't abruptly shift on the main body. Try always should have a like linking statement there. Linking statement. Then you will be like, why there is a crisis of availability? कि availability की crisis क्या है? Crisis of availability कि ये है first, like there is natural uneven distribution. Keep examples in support. Keep examples के जैसे कि for example Sahara desert and rainforest region. Then what further you can connect it like कि there is climate change, that event है climatic and seasonal variations, तो that is as well responsible for. Then pollution, that is as well responsible for, that is over exploitation of resources, ये भी equally water resources, ये भी reason है why there is even lack of availability of fresh water resources. अब availability का issue है तो फिर access में क्या case है? Crisis of access. यार अब वाटर तो दैट इज मेड अवेलेबल टू यू राइट देयर, बट डू यू रियली हैव इनफ potential or capacity or mechanisms or tool by which you can even use that available water tool. So अब access में क्या issues है? You will find there is lot of geographical limitations for this कि जैसे interlinking of river या जो river basins है अब उतना ही water होगा like North India and South India दोनों भी peninsular basins जो है right river basins है they are having different capacity as in. Then second you will find like there is like regional disparity तो ये भी एक factor है कि that it lead to or limits on. Then you will find economic potential और पुअर इकोनॉमिक पोटेंशियल क्योंकि जैसे वाटर चार्जेस भी होता है तो वाटर चार्जेस अगर आप पे नहीं करोगे तो वाटर का एक्सेस आपको इनफ नहीं मिलेगा और इवन अगर वाटर अवेलेबल भी हो तो यू विल फाइंड रादर दैट इज पोल्यूटेड वाटर सो दैट इज नॉट एब्सोल्युटली फ्रेश सेफ एक्सेस टू वाटर. देन यू विल फाइंड इवन से पुअर वाटर गवर्नेंस जो किसी भी अर्बन एरियाज में या रीजन में वाटर सप्लाई का जो केस है यू मस्ट बी नोइंग अबाउट कि क्या केस है. अगर अर्बन इंडिया ले लो अफ्रीका ले लो या किसी यूरोपियन कंट्रीज में भी लोगे तो यू विल फाइंड लाइक देयर आर मेनी लूप होल्स इन दी वाटर गवर्नेंस. सो यस एब्सोल्युटली देयर लाइज ए क्रिटिकल इशू विद इट है ना. तो यस यू कैन ऐड फर्दर मोर पॉइंट एंड इन द कंक्लूजन अब सिर्फ देखो एडमिनिस्ट्रेटर का काम इज एब्सोल्युटली नॉट टू शो द प्रॉब्लम्स देयर. Yeah, there lies a problem. No, being an administrator, you are solution provider as well. You are seeking for solution as well. अब आपको causes तो पता चल गए, reasons तो पता चल गए, but you need to mention solutions equally. So here now you have to write how world could mitigate this freshwater crisis. How absolutely try to have some means by which fresh water just could be or wasted water just could be reused and recycle. देखो मैं solution बता रहा हूँ right, reuse and recycle. Then you can have like say inter basin countries cooperation जैसे चाइना इंडिया बांग्लादेश राइट तो वहाँ पर भी फ्रेश वाटर इक्वली इन द सेंस कि लेजिटिमेट डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन होगा जुडिशियल डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन होगा. देन यू नीड टू क्रिएट अवेयरनेस फॉर दिस अवेलेबल वाटर एज वेल एंड स्टेट मस्ट प्ले अ स्ट्रॉन्ग रोल इन द equal access to fresh water. That is what our constitutional duty it seems as well. Right to water that is safe and secure as well. So yeah, you can conclude on this particular line. अगर SDG कनेक्ट कर सकते हो तो कर लो या right to water के टर्म में right to water, safe water, that is as well you can conclude with it. Getting it? I am telling you conclusion में आपको एक लास्ट ऐसा इंप्रेशन देना है that it gives like कि हाँ यार basically he is looking for some futuristic way. So absolutely this is what you can answer this question of fresh water crisis. 10 marker और 150 words में इसमें हो जाएगा and how to that model answers भी मिल जाएगी आपको तो you can absolutely for geography ठीक है model answer you will be getting them. Then next देखो ये क्वेश्चन है फिजिकल वर्ल्ड फिजिकल ज्योग्राफी ठीक है सिलेबस वर्ल्ड फिजिकल ज्योग्राफी एंड एज सच रेयरली नोन क्वेश्चन है बट कोई एक क्वेश्चन ऐसे होता ही है इन एग्जामिनेशन दैट इज pretty much different than okay that is pretty much different than the regular nature or behavior or pattern of exam. So how are the fjords formed? World physical geography and why do they constitute some of the most picturesque areas of the world? 10 mark. देखो अभी क्वेश्चन तो हल्का सा ऑड है रेयरली नोन है एज वेल राइट. आई फील के जियोमॉर्फोलॉजी में जिसका इंटरेस्ट है या पर्टिकुलरली लैंडफॉर्म्स वाला जो एंड किया होगा सो देयर यू विल फाइंड दिस पर्टिकुलर क्वेश्चन दैट इज डी लेवल देन. सो स्टिल सी क्वेश्चन इज व्हाट हैविंग टू पार्ट्स. What are the how are the fjords formed? So in introduction first you need to mention or write the definition of it. Definition of it. तो definition में फिर यही लिखोगे कि fjords are simply a long narrow extended channel led by glaciers, right? देखो how they are formed, then in main body simply define करोगे और यहाँ पे कुछ examples where these fjords are, you will find those are in Scandinavian countries, Norway, Sweden, Finland, those are very known for it, New Zealand as well, right? South Peru, Chile, that region as well you will find this way. फिर उसके बाद main body में क्या लिखोगे? Yes, how they are formed, how they are formed, how are they formed? So process of formation 3-stage process है as such that it seems. इसमें पहले क्या होगा, देखो ये जो सरफेस है यहाँ से ग्लेशियर पहले मूव किया करता था, ठीक. सो ग्लेशियर हैज इरोडेड दिस वैली एंड नाउ ड्यूरिंग आइस एज पीरियड ग्लेशियर हैज say its movement over in this valley region. Valley matlab you must be getting that the low lying section, and say in this valley then you will find say ग्लेशियर देन विद द राइज इन टेम्परेचर, फिर ग्लेशियर वाटर क्या हो गया, मेल्ट हो गया. अब जब ग्लेशियर वाटर मेल्ट हो गया तो ये सरफेस जो हो गया ये एक्सपोज हो गया एज इन वे, राइट. लाइक दिस इज व्हाट कि यहाँ से पहले ग्लेशियर फ्लो हुआ करता था, देन it started to or it melted and this surface now exposed to, and in the end you will find अब यहाँ पे हो गया salt water और sea water intrude कर गया into the region, salt water. You will find that is how say this transition it happens. This is what the way fjords formed, and how do they constitute like some of the most picturesque areas. Picturesque areas in the sense, yes, अब देखो ये देखने में देखो ना यहाँ पे just like if you find that image you will find कि वैसे भी tourism adventure sport के लिए बहुत ज़्यादा important है. You will find this picturesque region is as well having waterfalls in it. Many waterfalls like in USA you will find, Canada sorry, lying there, in New Zealand as well you will find say waterfall, those are very famous for, you can mention few example क्योंकि हर कोई तो कर नहीं पाएंगे, and then absolutely in the conclusion what, just write simply this is how, okay, just simple conclusion होगा क्योंकि question है theoretical question, right. See, question is simply demanding for like whether you know about it or not, and I personally feel कि ये area जो है या एक क्वेश्चन है particularly it is a bit less attempted question as well. क्यों? क्योंकि ये थोड़ा specific demand कर रहा है about that information. So conclusion, thus fjords are one of the most important geographical features in the polar and subpolar region, having say very significant from the perspective of tourism, or you can connect it with the other way as well. Fine. Diagrams, yeah, Ria, it seems कि अगर diagram draw करोगी, right, this one, जैसे अगर कर सके तो सी आई एम टेलिंग यू कि एरिया थोड़ा सा अननोन है, सो इट डिपेंड्स ऑन, राइट, बट यू कैन एब्सोल्युटली ड्रॉ दिस वे एज वेल, क्योंकि ज्योग्राफी में सबसे क्रिटिकल अगर कोई चीज़ होती है तो वैसे भी डायग्राम चाहिए. फूड सिक्योरिटी में भी अगर मैं ड्रॉ करूंगा देखो तो नॉट डायग्राम टू शो, माइक्रो डायग्राम, एक्सेसिबिलिटी, फूड सिक्योरिटी इज व्हाट, एक्सेसिबिलिटी, अफोर्डेबिलिटी, राइट, एंड देन टाइमली सप्लाई. तो यस, you need to draw this kind of presentation as well there कि जो micro diagrams कहेंगे. तो इसमें भी fjords में भी you can absolutely draw it. अगर देखो किसी ने नहीं किया है और अगर आपने attempt किया है you will be appreciated for. अगर वो diagram for example बहुत perfect ना भी हो, right, क्योंकि question वैसे भी odd है, तो perfect ना भी हो, believe me you will be getting some benefit of it, and not in that particular question, maybe evaluator will carry the same impression for the next question for you and he will give you additional marks over there itself अगर यहाँ नहीं मिले तो. okay, so it's good to draw. Then yes, the most important area of geography, as you know, that is southwest monsoon. That is simply we called it as a monsoonal phenomena. अब देखो क्वेश्चन क्या पूछा है कि why is the southwest monsoon called पूर्वैया ईस्टर्ली इन भोजपुर रीजन. अब इंट्रोडक्शन क्या होना चाहिए, इंट्रोडक्शन क्या होना चाहिए, आई पर्सनली फील कि इंट्रोडक्शन there is no need for, right, means there is no other scope for explanation than भोजपुर रीजन. फर्स्ट पहले ये बताओगे ना भोजपुर रीजन कहाँ है और वहां पे उसी इंट्रोडक्शन में उसको मॉनसून से करेक्ट करोगे, राइट, कि भोजपुर रीजन, राइट, दैट इज द वेस्टर्न पार्ट ऑफ बिहार विच इंक्लूड्स पार्ट ऑफ यूपी, ईस्टर्न यूपी, वेस्टर्न बिहार, देन झारखंड, देन एमपी, दैट पर्टिकुलर रीजन. एंड इफ यू नो कि डिस्ट्रिक्ट कौन सा है, बहुत ज़्यादा इन्फॉर्मेशन भी मत देना, मतलब ये ना लगे कि आप ही का रीजन है वो. सो भोजपुर रीजन, एंड try to connect over here itself with the southwest monsoon or monsoon. इंट्रोडक्शन में ही आपका मेन बॉडी की तरफ वे क्रिएट हो जाना चाहिए. ओके, इट शुड, इंट्रोडक्शन शुड बी लाइक ए पाइप, इट शुड बी लाइक ए चैनल थ्रू विच यू एंटर्स इनटू मेन बॉडी रीजन. या सो दिस इज व्हाट साउथ वेस्ट मॉनसून को जब बता दिया. नाउ पूर्वैया, राइट, हाउ पूर्वैया ए मॉनसून ऑफ भोजपुर रीजन. यू कैन हैव दिस हेडिंग एज वेल, लुक्रेटिव हेडिंग, ऐसे भी कर सकते हो, कीपिंग इट इन बॉक्स. देखो जितना लाइक हाईलाइट करोगे एरियाज को, जितना एग्जामिनर को इजी कर दोगे आपका प्रेजेंटेशन, दैट विल बी रियली अप्रिशिएटेड फॉर. सो पूर्वैया ए मॉनसून ऑफ भोजपुर. देन राइट व्हाई इट इज कॉल्ड एज ईस्टरली और पूर्वैया. सो यू नीड टू मेंशन बे ऑफ बंगाल वाला केस है. देखो जैसे होता क्या है यहाँ पे, यहाँ हो क्या रहा है, लॉजिकल है वैसे ये काइंड ऑफ. See, this monsoon it gets divided into two ends. एक जा रही है बे ऑफ बंगाल ब्रांच, एक जा रही है अरेबियन ब्रांच. सो बे ऑफ बंगाल ब्रांच when there is a Himalaya, right, when it enters into Bangladesh, Myanmar and that particular part, then what you know, due to this mighty Himalaya, ये जो होती है it takes a bend. Yeah? This monsoon wind takes a bend. और भोजपुर रीजन कहाँ है? This is what this भोजपुर रीजन. Yeah? So it is from east to west. It becomes easterly or Purvaiya in Bhojpur region. Purvaiya in Bhojpur region. Yeah, simple. So क्या होगा, देखो यहाँ पे आपको map is pretty much needed. Without having a map and that too with this explanation, it is absolutely not possible to fetch enough marks over there. तो पहला पार्ट एड्रेस कर दिया हमने, why it is called as this wind. Now how has this directional seasonal wind system influenced the cultural ethos of the region. Now देखो अब cultural ethos, पहले आपको पता होना चाहिए कल्चर में क्या क्या चीज़ें आती है. कल्चर में आएगा डांस, कल्चर में आएगा आपका क्लोथिंग, कल्चर में आएगा म्यूजिक, कल्चर में आएगा कस्टम्स, म्यूजिक, रिलीजन, then regular practices like agriculture itself. Yeah, then again और भी कुछ अगर specific practices है तो absolutely your beliefs and this. So अब देखो ये all over India के लिए more or less same रहेगा. How this south west monsoon impact on culture of India? तो आंसर फिर भी सेम ही होगा. या your almost every area. अब सिर्फ यहाँ पे करना क्या है, you have to add example of Bhojpur region, Bhojpuri language connected with, Bhojpuri cuisine connected with, Bhojpuri dance है खाकरा, right, खारकीस I guess, right. तो डांस से कनेक्ट कर लो. Bhojpuri religion, yes, you can connect it with the religious aspect of you know the Purvaiya and this one. Or agricultural practices in a sense, it just due to it lead to 100 to 120 centimeter of rainfall. Rice and sugarcane are rather more practiced there. देखो, yeah, absolutely. You will find this Purvaiya has led to some cultural modifications in the region. And then, in the conclusion, yes, this is how southwest monsoon, Purvaiya, it has lots of impact on not only in Bhojpur region, but all across the India. मतलब you can like, or we can extend it to India as well. एक जनरल सिंपल कंक्लूजन. अब इसमें हम बहुत ज़्यादा फ्यूचरिस्टिक नहीं हो सकते. वी नीड टू बी प्लेन ओवर हियर इन फॉर दिस केस ऑफ कंक्लूजन. यू कैन हैव योर ओन वे एज वेल, बट मुझे जो लगता है कि इस वे में हम कंक्लूड करेंगे तो दैट गिव्स यू द बेटर वे. देन नेक्स्ट, कमेंट ऑन द रिसोर्स पोटेंशियल ऑफ द लॉन्ग कोस्ट लाइन ऑफ इंडिया एंड हाईलाइट द स्टेटस ऑफ नेचुरल हैजर्ड प्रिपेयर्डनेस इन दिस एरिया. 15 मार्कर क्वेश्चन, 250 वर्ड्स. सो अब देखो यहाँ पे पहला तो इंट्रोडक्शन तो आई गेस बहुत प्लेन है, बहुत प्लेन है. व्हाट यू नीड टू राइट अबाउट लॉन्ग कोस्ट लाइन्स. लॉन्ग कोस्ट लाइन 7,500 kilometers of coastline that is lying with the India. And then you need to showcase how it is. देखो मैं आई एम टेलिंग यू अगेन कि इंट्रोडक्शन से ही ऐसे करना that it should pave the way for you for main body. ऐसे नहीं करेंगे हम, पहले पूरा कोस्ट लाइन एक्सप्लेन करेंगे गुजरात, महाराष्ट्र एंड ऑल दोस. हाँ, इफ यू वांट टू यू कैन शो इट इन डायग्राम देयर, या इन दैट मैप. but don't waste your time just merely writing this way. Yeah, so just do create your roadway for entering into main body, and there write resource potential. Thus such a lengthy coastline in India offers lots of resources, may be tangible and intangible, and are very important from that perspective, right? फिर उसके बाद मेन बॉडी में क्या करोगे? मेन बॉडी, yes, you need to be multi-dimensional. जितने ज़्यादा resources लिखोगे, keeping with fact, keeping with examples. See, आंसर में वैल्यू तभी ऐड होगी when your answer is having, right, so those respective data, facts, examples and maps wherever needed. So absolutely started with like a food and like resources, nutritional resources, जहाँ पे आप फिशेज डाल सकते हो, सॉल्ट डाल सकते हो, या और भी ट्राइबल कल्चर के लिए डाल सकते हो. देन यू विल फाइंड मिनरल रिसोर्सेज देयर, लाइक केरला मोनोजॉइड सॉइल वाला केस है, या लैटेराइट सॉइल है जहाँ पे बॉक्साइट मिलता है, वो वाला केस डाल सकते हो, मोनोजॉइड सॉइल केरला, थोरियम. देन एनर्जी रिसोर्सेज, energy resources you will find, where in energy resources tidal energy, marine solar energy, offshore wind energy, geothermal energy, okay, all these are basically over this coastal region. Fourth, it offers you port and harbor potential. Port and harbor potential है, ये भी केस है, okay. Then again you will find this coastline, it offers you marine agriculture and resources. मतलब it from the perspective of employment, right? I am offering you like it is a kind of employment resource for us. Then it also offers strategic advantage. This coastline, it offers strategic advantage, like जो कोची है, कोची पोर्ट, it is known as Queen of the Arabian Sea. You know the reason? Because it has a lots of strategic control over on the Arabian region. Yeah, तो कोस्ट लाइन ही ऑफर कर रहा है. इंडियन ओशन इटसेल्फ नेम एज लाइक विद द नेम ऑफ इंडिया, द रीजन बीइंग इंडिया के पास इतनी बड़ी कोस्ट लाइन है यहाँ पे, सो ऑब्वियस है यू विल फाइंड दैट स्ट्रैटेजिक एडवांटेज एंड यू दैट रिसोर्स पोटेंशियल, एंड देन हाईलाइट द हैजर्ड प्रिपेयर्डनेस, राइट? हैजर्ड प्रिपेयर्डनेस, तो कनेक्ट करो इसको जो करंट अफेयर्स में आपने बहुत सारे न्यूज़ पढ़े हैं, राइट? हाउ ओडिशा मैनेज विद द दैट साइक्लोन Flon there, right? Or before Joy cyclone that was recently, Mocha cyclone there was, right? So there what you need to connect with cyclone से और tsunami alert warning system, जो आपको पता है you need to connect tsunami, a cyclone color coding warning and alert system, then coastal regulation zones 2011, right? Those way. Then again you will find some inquires के initiatives, okay, inquiries. So that is again an organization that deals with this, right? So these are what few hazard and other in general connected. Don't forget to mention NDMA, National Disaster Management Act, okay, or like district management committees. These are all, and local cultural practices, integration of local cultural practices for disaster management, because those tribes or those people living there, they have been practicing this what hazard preparedness since thousands of years. Means उनके वो जो practices है, those are evolved since a long, yeah. And don't again forget to mention, yeah, Ankur, medicines, हाँ medicine वाला, yes Ankur, absolutely medicine वाला केस तो हम ऐड कर ही सकते हैं. Building material, बिल्कुल, construction material you can have it, you can have building material as well, okay, absolutely you can connect with. Good. So conclusion में CDIR, देखो इंडिया का इनिशिएटिव एक है कोएलिशन फॉर डिजास्टर रेजिलिएंट इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर एंड SDG. सो आई बिलीव कंक्लूजन में आपके ये दो चीज आने चाहिए, क्योंकि अगर डिजास्टर मैनेजमेंट वाला केस है तो इंडिया का इनिशिएटिव तो आना ही चाहिए, और कनेक्टेड विद द SDG, और यू कैन कनेक्टेड विद द व्हाट सेंडाई एग्रीमेंट एज वेल देयर, ओके. तो दिस वे. देन आइडेंटिफाई, नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन, ये क्वेश्चन देखो फिर से सिलेबस से कनेक्ट है या नहीं. डिस्कस द फैक्टर्स रिस्पॉन्सिबल फॉर डिवर्सिटी. पहला वाला क्वेश्चन जो था डिजास्टर प्रिपेयर्डनेस, वो ऑलरेडी है जियोफिजिकल फिनोमेना, ठीक है, तो सिलेबस से कनेक्ट है. आइडेंटिफाई एंड डिस्कस द फैक्टर्स रिस्पॉन्सिबल फॉर डिवर्सिटी ऑफ नेचुरल वेजिटेशन इन इंडिया, assess the significance of wildlife sanctuaries in rainforest region. तो देखो दो एरियाज है, सिंपली यू नीड टू एड्रेस इन टू एंड्स, 7.5 marks, 7.5 marks. Yeah. So see, natural vegetation, first you need to connect, say or write with the like significance the presence of natural vegetation in India. Like India that hosts sixth highest number of flowering plants. It is home to the mega diversity center. You can start with this, right? कि जिससे आपका क्या होगा कि ये जो फैक्ट बता रहा है क्वेश्चन में, that factors responsible for diversity of natural vegetation, yes, you need to validate this fact. Yes, तो यहाँ से एक either you can start with the plant species that way, either you can start with the data. I would rather prefer to start with the data. I personally feel या अगर कोड होता आपके पास तो कर सकते थे, बट पर्सनली डाइवर्सिटी का केस है तो डेटा वाला केस ज़्यादा बेटर होगा फॉर इंट्रोडक्शन. देन मेन बॉडी, what you need to mention reasons for this matter, why there is natural diversity of vegetation in India, right? What I would rather prefer, you know, मैं यहाँ पे मैप भी ड्रॉ कर दिया होता कि सच में वेजिटेशन के डिफरेंट टाइप्स है हमारे पास, लाइक से दैट इज ऑलरेडी इंडियन ज्योग्राफी में कवर किया होगा आपने, राइट? ये है थॉर्नी टाइप या डेजर्ट टाइप, ये है स्नो फॉरेस्ट, दिस इज एवरग्रीन और रेन फॉरेस्ट, ड्राई डेसिडियस, मॉइस्ट डेसिडियस, right? Mangroves. You need to draw their map as well, just to show कि yes, diversity is there, because I am going to use this now in rest of the examples. ठीक है? तो reasons क्या है? जैसे you will find lots of topographical variation. इतने सारे mountain, plateau, plain और various topographies है, तो हो सकता है aerial extent, area भी तो इतना है हमारा, right? 3.2 million square kilometer. तो इतने एरिया में तो इतनी डाइवर्सिटी बनती भी है. देन यू विल फाइंड एल्टीट्यूड एंड द डेप्थ वेरिएशन या हाइट. देन यू विल फाइंड क्लाइमेटिक कंडीशंस, टेम्परेचर, precipitation variation, huge variation it seems, right? All these are responsible for कि अगर high amount of precipitation है like that it happens in कहाँ पर, in western घाट, in Himalayas, okay, or in अंडमान निकोबार, वहाँ पर क्या है, रेन फॉरेस्ट टाइप ऑफ वेजिटेशन, राइट? एंड देयर इन द रेस्ट यू विल फाइंड फिर वेरिएशन. तो ये भी केस है. सॉइल कंडीशंस आर इक्वली मैटर, राइट? सॉइल कंडीशंस, डिफरेंट टाइप्स ऑफ सॉइल गिव्स राइज टू डिफरेंट केस. और क्या रीजंस हो सकते हैं? यू विल फाइंड देन से नेचुरल सिलेक्शन मीन्स, natural selection I would rather prefer to write mention Darwin principle natural selection कि कुछ जो diversity बनती है वो naturally developed होती है and keeping the natural selection as in. So natural selection इसके बहुत सारे example है, वैसे current affair में भी ये case भी था वैसे. Okay, so these are what the reason why India and like why India is having say huge diversity of natural vegetation there. Okay, natural vegetation there. Riya were I guess asking for highlight in map. Which map? Riya, कौन सा वाला मैप था? I guess वो पहला वाला क्वेश्चन होगा. Then next वाला क्वेश्चन है वाइल्ड लाइफ सैंक्चुरी. Now don't directly shift on वाइल्ड लाइफ सैंक्चुरी. देखो अगर डायरेक्टली एब्रप्ट शिफ्ट करोगे वाइल्ड लाइफ सैंक्चुरी में तो that is going to have a wrong impression on a say evaluator. First, thus such a huge biodiversity is needed to like protected by taking various means, and Government of India by Wildlife Protection Act 1972 has established protected reserves like wildlife sanctuary. Then yes, significance of wildlife sanctuary. समझ रहे हो कि abrupt आपका transition नहीं होना चाहिए from one region to another, and if that is then you have to pay the price for, right? तो significance क्या है? Soil conservation, water conservation, biodiversity conservation, okay, cultural development of this, right? It helps to keep isolated environment over this, right? And then you can connect some economic benefits of it, economic benefits, tourism and employment as well. देखो बहुत सारे points बन सकते हैं simply based on this significance. Okay, so this way. Then why did human development fail to keep pace with the economic development in India? Why did the human development fail to keep pace with the economic development, and how and why? Basically simple. देखो start फिर से करो दो चीज़ों से. Now government of India is planning to be third largest economy, right? Economic development है. However, our HDI ranking is 132, right? Our environment performance index is lowest. We are lowest in that particular category, though we deny it, but still, yeah. तो देखो दोनों भी जो रैंकिंग्स है आपको कुछ केस बता रहे हैं फॉर ह्यूमन डेवलपमेंट एंड फॉर इकोनॉमिक डेवलपमेंट. सो मेन बॉडी, फिर ज्योग्राफी से भी कनेक्ट कर लो इसको कि व्हाई इट फेल टू. यू विल फाइंड मेनी रीजंस फॉर दिस मैटर, राइट. बहुत सारे फैक्टर्स है, दोज आर रिस्पॉन्सिबल फॉर दिस. लाइक फॉर एग्जाम्पल से कंसंट्रेशन ऑफ वेल्थ, concentration of resources, then what, jobless growth. Employment is the mean to bring every society section in order, right. Then social disparity, कि अभी भी कास्टिज्म वाला केस है, अभी भी आप देखोगे रीजनल डिस्पैरिटी, अभी भी वीमेन को इक्वल पार्टिसिपेशन नहीं मिला है. Yeah, so they are underpaid. Like according to, if you find World Economic Forum's report, it will take women to earn equally that of men at least by 2100. So after 70 years, women will able to achieve same as that like of men, right? That is what the case. So region, then you will find say regional barriers are regional disparities there. लेबर मार्केट रिफॉर्म्स भी नहीं है, वो भी एक केस है जो इकोनॉमिक्स वाला केस बनता है. यस, लेबर रिफॉर्म्स, मार्केट रिफॉर्म्स, जिस वजह से क्या हुआ है अल्टीमेटली वी फेल टू इंटीग्रेट इकोनॉमिक डेवलपमेंट दैट ऑफ ह्यूमन डेवलपमेंट. एंड द रिजल्ट से ए बिट इम्बैलेंस बिटवीन, सीसॉ वाला केस हो गया कि इकोनॉमिक डेवलपमेंट तो फास्टेस्ट ग्रोइंग इकोनॉमी है और ह्यूमन डेवलपमेंट काउंट पे वी आर फेयरिंग सो पुअर ऑन दिस, राइट. तो ये वाला केस है. एंड देन नाउ इज इट इनफ कि रीजन बता दिया? नो, यू नीड टू राइट सोल्यूशन देयर. सोल्यूशन कीपिंग केस स्टडी. अगर केस स्टडी हो तो यू वुड बी रादर अप्रिशिएटेड फॉर, लाइक यू कैन ऐड केरला, हाउ केरला इज डूइंग fairly well on the count of economic development and human development both. Yeah, और you can add यूरोपियन यूनियन वाली कोई एक कंट्री की केस स्टडी भी डाल सकते हो, जिससे क्या होगा कि योर आंसर लाइक मोर होलिस्टिक. तो वी शुड इन्वेस्ट मोर इन एजुकेशन, वी शुड इन्वेस्ट मोर इन हेल्थ, वी शुड इन्वेस्ट मोर इन स्किलिंग, वी शुड ट्राई टू लिमिट द रीजनल बैरियर्स, लिमिट रीजनल डिस्पैरिटी, वी शुड ट्राई टू लिमिट social barriers and integration. बेटी बचाओ बेटी पढ़ाओ, okay, that particular scheme, the integration, एक भारत श्रेष्ठ भारत, you can connect with those schemes as well, okay. And then in the end, conclusion, write about goal of constitution, write about goal of constitution, that we want equalistic society, we want development of all irrespective of all, without having the barrier, gender, sex, place of birth, any kind of differentiation. And then and only then we just could able to integrate economic development with that of human development. Yes, SDG ranking लिख सकते हो, SDG वाला केस, सॉरी रैंकिंग नहीं, SDG वाला केस यहाँ भी ऐड कर सकते हो, बट आई फील यहाँ पे उससे बेटर है कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन का रेफरेंस देना, दैट मेक्स योर आर्ग्यूमेंट मच मोर इफेक्टिव. And then like this one last, from being a net food importer in 1960, India has emerged as net food exporter to the world. Provide reasons. देखो अब क्वेश्चन दे रहा है प्रोवाइड रीजन, दैट इट डजंट मीन ओनली यू नीड टू राइट रीजन फॉर 15 मार्क्स. इतना तो यू इफ यू आर मेयरली राइटिंग रीजन तो इनफ मार्क्स नहीं मिलेंगे, ठीक है. यू नीड टू ऐड ऑन द अदर प्रॉब्लम्स एंड देन सॉल्यूशंस एज वेल, क्योंकि सिर्फ रीजन राइट करोगे तो मार्क्स नहीं मिलेंगे, ठीक है. सो सी इंट्रोडक्शन, आई स्टिल रिमेंबर दैट केस, लाइक व्हेन इंदिरा गांधी जब यूएस गई थी तो फिर उस केस में उनको जो ह्यूमिलिएशन हुआ था, दैट इट प्रॉम्प्टेड हर टू से टेक इनिशिएटिव्स फॉर ग्रीन रिवॉल्यूशन. and then India, which was not a net importer of 4,000 tons of food grains in 50s, it is now top 10 agriculture exporting country, and that is a landmark achievement it seems, क्योंकि just within a span of 50-60 years we just would able to achieve this landmark being an agriculture economy. तो absolutely ये appreciated है, यहाँ से आप start कर सकते हो, or else आपके पास क्या है, you can write like in terms of data as well, right, in data, और I believe अगर प्राइम मिनिस्टर का कोई कोट है तो वहां से भी स्टार्ट कर सकते हो, आत्मनिर्भरता, सेल्फ रिलायंस से भी स्टार्ट कर सकते हो, लाइक इट्स ऑन योर विश, राइट, हाउ यू जस्ट फाइंड दैट योर इंट्रोडक्शन विल पेव द वे फॉर मेन बॉडी, तो वहां से कर सकते हो. देन व्हाट आर द रीजंस फॉर, अब देखो, अब सिर्फ इतना मत करना कि एग्रीकल्चर से ही करोगे, क्योंकि बिकॉज इट इज आस्किंग यू फॉर नेट फूड इंपोर्टर, तो दैट फूड मे बी रॉ फूड, that food may be processed food, या that food may be ultra processed food as well, ये भी हो सकता है गाइस, अल्ट्रा प्रोसेस फूड, या मे बी हाँ, या वैल्यू एडेड, मतलब इसी का टाइप है, वैल्यू एडेड के ही है ये, तो दैट वे, या जंक फूड भी हो सकता है, डिपेंड्स ऑन. तो इंडिया इज एक्चुअली say the importer of all this and now exporter of all this. So don't merely look this question from perspective of import of cereals, wheat, rice or those things. No, you have to keep yourself diverse. Like कि पहले आपको pulses पे भी लिखना है, oil seeds पे भी लिखना है, then processed foods पे भी लिखना है, fisheries पे भी लिखना है, dairy products पे भी लिखना है, yeah, those way. And then you not only be specific only for agriculture or production, because export, ये पूरा element जो है ये deal करेगा से export, processing, then transport, right, transport तो खैर बीच के भी पूरे linkages में आएगा, and then export. You have to address, you can show this pipeline, yeah, you can draw that pipeline there as well, and then address on how government of India like took initiative just to address each of this section. कि एग्रीकल्चर प्रोडक्शन में हमने क्या किया, लैंड रिफॉर्म्स इंप्लीमेंट किए, हमने टीनेंसी रेगुलराइजेशन की केसेस किए, राइट, और दैट प्रमोशन किया है, देन ग्रीन रिवोल्यूशन वाले मीन्स अप्लाई किए, फर्टिलाइजर्स है, हाई यील्डिंग वैरायटीज है, देन साइमल्टेनियसली प्रोसेसिंग के लिए प्रमोट किया, प्रोसेसिंग मेगा फूड पार्क्स है, या एलपीजी पॉलिसीज के बाद में हमने कुछ और इनिशिएटिव्स लिए हैं. देन आफ्टर ट्रांसपोर्टेशन यू विल फाइंड इंडिया इज नाउ हैविंग द फास्टेस्ट मोड ऑफ रोड कंस्ट्रक्शन एज इन, तो नॉट ओनली रोड, पाइपवेज or inland waterways or oceanic or maritime waterways are equally, you know, facilitated by the government of India and community as well. फिर इसमें हमने cold storage पे भी काम किया है, cold storage, different revolutions, white revolution, blue revolution, right, their financial inclusion, all these are banking reforms, they are all equally responsible for say this. अब नाउ देखो, आई एम टेलिंग यू अगेन, आपका आंसर इस क्वेश्चन में या पूरे पे क्वेश्चन में आपको तभी मिलेंगे व्हेन यू कीप योरसेल्फ डिवर्स, व्हेन यू कीप लाइक मूविंग फ्रॉम ज्योग्राफी टू पॉलिटी टू इकोनॉमी टू एनवायरमेंट एंड फाइनेंस एज वेल. तो जब इतना राइट करोगे, कीपिंग दिस यू नो पाइपलाइन फॉर दिस फूड एक्सपोर्ट, देन you will be getting good enough mark, right, keeping dimensions, mentions of all those case studies, ठीक है, case studies in the sense names of the schemes, and then say this pipeline diagram for export, and then अब सिर्फ इतना ही reason enough है क्या? I would say no, you need to identify the current issues with the food export potential, कि इंडिया में सिर्फ top 10 एक्सपोर्टर होना ही इतना ही potential है? No, what we want at the conclusion क्या लिखेंगे? India having a potential to achieve, like to be largest food security provider, like on a broader count, like कि वर्ल्ड को हम फूड सिक्योरिटी प्रोवाइड करना चाहते हैं, या लाइक फूड एक्सपोर्ट कर रहे हैं ना अल्टीमेटली, सो वी वांट टू प्रोवाइड फूड सिक्योरिटी टू द होल ऑफ वर्ल्ड. So it means now there are, you know, lots of remains, lots of area those need to be addressed. तो क्या हो सकता है? Identify current issues, वेर यू विल फाइंड कि आज भी अभी भी पोस्ट हार्वेस्ट लॉसेस बहुत है, अभी भी एग्रीकल्चर प्रोडक्टिविटी बहुत कम है, रेन डिपेंडेंट एग्रीकल्चर है, मार्केटिंग एंड स्टोरेज रिफॉर्म्स अभी भी फुल्ली इंप्लीमेंट नहीं हुए, एपीएमसी एंड दोज, राइट. एंड देन यू विल फाइंड एक्सपोर्ट हर्डल्स है, ट्रेड एंड FTAs agreements they are still pending, like that is with the Britain, right, अभी जो G20 में चल रहा था. So in the conclusion you can write say like various government schemes like प्रधानमंत्री आशा स्कीम है, या फार्मर सिक्योरिटी सोशल सिक्योरिटी मीन्स है, या स्टोरेज रिफॉर्म्स है, या इफेक्टिव यूज ऑफ G20 प्लेटफॉर्म, ब्रिक्स प्लेटफॉर्म टू मेक more market available for our good. Yeah, so that is what just would help India to be largest food exporter and net food security provider. देखो कुछ ब्रॉडर टर्म में कि कुछ इवैल्यूएटर को भी कुछ ऐसा बताओ दैट इट सीम्स लाइक कि या दैट ही इज हैविंग सम डिफरेंट अप्रोच, कुछ डिफरेंट वेज में सपने दिखा रहा है, मे बी पूरे होंगे नहीं होंगे, दैट्स अ डिफरेंट केस, बट या एब्सोल्युटली यू आर ट्राइंग फॉर just to show some broader possibilities as in. Yeah, so this is how you are supposed to attempt this particular questions of geography. राम को बोला, राम राम. So this is what, like how all those 8 questions are needed to address. देखो guys, again I am telling you कोई एक स्टैंडर्ड आंसर नहीं होता, ठीक, कोई एक स्टैंडर्ड प्रैक्टिस नहीं होती है हाउ टू अटेम्प्ट दिस क्वेश्चन पेपर. So simply it's your individual approach that absolutely makes you unique, and you have to keep yourself there. जो भी आपकी यूनिक वे ऑफ राइटिंग है, प्रेजेंटेशन है, यू नीड टू रिफ्लेक्ट दैट इन एग्जामिनेशन. एंड अगेन फॉर पर्टिकुलरली लाइक एट द एंड फॉर ज्योग्राफी क्वेश्चन, what you need to always do mention like those geographical features in prioritized order, कि जिसमें ऑर्डर प्रॉपर हो, जिसमें नेसेसरीली कोई मैप इन्वॉल्व हो, नेसेसरीली कोई डायग्राम इन्वॉल्व हो, माइक्रो डायग्राम हो, and you have to keep this features right in connect with SDGs, in connect with our constitution. Even though if it is of geography, I am telling you जितना ज़्यादा history, geography, polity, economics integrate करोगे, उतने ज़्यादा आपको marks fetch होंगे. Yeah. So yeah, those 8 questions are basically what from this sections of geography. Anyone having any kind of issue, doubt? So it seems you guys are having pretty much clarity. Okay, so yes, this is all about from my side for this geography session. Okay, and now for society section, Shabaz sir will now help you out, right, just to how to tackle those particular questions. So sure, yes, thank you guys and wish you all the best.
सर हमारे ऑनलाइन के बच्चे हैं ना.
ओके फाइन, दिख रहा है बच्चों का मेरे को कमेंट? ओके फाइन, ओके चलो ठीक है, मैं कर रहा हूँ. हेलो गाइस, गुड आफ्टरनून, हाउ आर यू? कैसे हैं आप लोग? दिस इज मोहम्मद शहबाज खान. I'll discuss this GS paper 1. Overall, if I say, there are 6 questions have been asked from this section. In fact, there are some overlapping areas also. In fact, the society has been linked with the Indian history and mainly this time some other idea. So, there are 6 basic questions which is related to this GS paper 1 Indian society. So, this question I will discuss ki what could be this answer, and my voice is audible to you guys? Fine, okay. So, this exactly is what ki there are 6 questions have been asked in this. The first question is, do you think marriage as a sacrament in losing its value in modern India? The very first question. The second question have been asked from this Indian society part, that is, explain why suicide among young women is increasing in Indian society. This was the second one. The third question, the child cuddling, which is more related to this idea of socialization, is more being replaced by mobile phones. There is a change in this socialization process. Discuss its impact on the socialization of the children. This is the question. This is the third question we have. Now, the next one, does urbanization lead to more segregation or marginalization of the poor in India metropolis? Question mark. Okay. So, the fourth question is on urbanization, which is a very recurrent theme in this whole preparation if you study this Indian society GS paper. Again, the question next, why is caste identity a system of stratification or a hierarchical system in India, both fluid and static? This is the fifth question have been asked in examination. The last one is discuss the impact of post-liberal economy on ethnic identity and communalism. This question is a bit of difficult, because most of the time what I have seen, the people or exactly the students define this post-liberal economy in a very vague manner. So, I start with, do you think marriage as a sacrament in losing its value in modern time? So, the very first question, we will divide this question, or the structure of the answer would be, the first part is introduction, and second will come the body. So, this question exactly is what, do you think, because everything is given in the directive, you have to understand the directive of the question exactly. What is given as a content, what you add, the main demand of the question, rather than you have to follow the directives. For example, directive, discuss, analysis, critical analysis, okay, elaborate, comment, do you think, these are kind of the directives, you have to proceed with the answer accordingly. So, this is exactly what is saying, do you think marriage is a sacrament in losing its value in a modern India, and there is a question mark. Fine. So, this exactly is telling you what, first you have to give argument in support of, as a marriage is not losing its value in a modern Indian society. It is still as sacrament as it was, or its necessary feature of this sacrament in this whole scheme. The second thing you have to give argument against this, exactly in the modern India, due to westernization, many of these changes have been introduced in a family, in a tradition, and many of the social institutions. So you have to write this exact changes or this argument against, as a marriage is not a sacrament institution in modern Indian society. Fine. So this exactly introduction, in this introduction part you have to introduce with this definition of marriage. Marriage, the definition will give here what exactly marriage is an institution, or this is a reunion between two adults of opposite sex. They come into this marital bond for the purpose of procreation and sexual gratification. Okay, so this is exactly would be the introduction. And what exactly this marriage as an institution has sacrament attached to it with respect to particular society. In Indian society, marriage is a sacrament thing, a sacred thing, which is assigned by the supernatural being. Okay, and बोलते हैं ना ये ऊपर ही लिख दी जाती है. This is more of kind sacrament. So you have to define this introduction part, and this body part you will discuss. The one side of it is like argument against and in favor of this. Fine. So in this body part you will write marriage. If I say this has not been a sacrament thing in a modern Indian society, this marriage goes against this idea, it's not a sacrament. So against this you can write the first, there you can see change in the forms of marriage. Change in the forms of marriage. In a modern society, Indian society, you can observe this instrument of sacredness or instrument sacrament have been changed. Now marriage has become more of this personal choices, or this idea, this world, exactly this model was based on the idea of individualism or westernization. Due to its impact, we can see there is a change in the forms of marriage. Okay, this, the very basic definition of this marriage is what exactly, this is a reunion between two opposite sex. Now you can see many of the instances of same sex marriage. Okay, as the rise of this LGBTQ community plus community, you can see such more of such marriages, okay, which is out of this traditional marital bond of two opposite sex. Sologamy, fine, single parenting, so these are the changes have been seen in terms of the forms of marriages. Again, as this sacredness has been reduced with respect to increasing the cases, you can see the increasing or rise in the cases of divorce and separation. Now there are more cases of divorce and separation in a modern Indian society. Okay, so this exactly, this is all against again you can see, observe the changes as which is against this argument that marriage is not a sacrament in India. Again, increasing age of marriages, you can see or observe in a society now because of this more westernization or industrialization of the society, or another word bureaucratization or the rationalization of society, this material aim of the society has been changed. Earlier, to affect this, there was a marriage was sacrament, which used to happen was two adults got married early, but now you can see because of this phenomena, the age of marriage is being increased, is increasing in India. Okay, this is another. Also, desirability of marriage. This function of marriage has been changed. Earlier it was like serial monogamy, as like you married once, you are fixed for the lifetime, and this is monogamy exactly kind of. But now this desirability exactly tells you what. Earlier this function of the marriage was a bond between two opposite sex. Here there is a clear distinction of responsibility and accountability. At the same time, this whole depends upon this idea of sacredness, a sacrament thing. But this desirability of the marriage has been changed. Earlier this time, for example, you will put here, now premarital sex are not considered as a taboo. Earlier it was a taboo, but now there is a rises in premarital sex and postmarital affairs. You can observe. So such changes you've seen, and this goes against this argument of sacrament. Okay, that Indian marriage is not a sacrament thing. Again, spouse selection. Now families more focus on this spouse selection. There are a bit of freedom on this aspect. So this spouse selection, exactly now you can see the rise in the phenomena of love come arranged marriage. This is a different kind of thing. Love come arranged marriage. First they come into this bond, emotional bond, then they develop it or give it a sanction of the society, and which is mostly accepted in Indian society. Fine. Again, all this argument which goes against this favor of marriage as a sacrament, or it's losing its value in the Indian society. Again, for the favor, you will write still marriage is still it preserves its sacrament, it's as a basic value. For example, many of these traditions or ceremonies happens, or there are many cases of intra-caste marriages in India, and society still favor this intra-caste marriage or the endogamy. So such exogamous practices are still being discriminalized in the society. You can see many of these cases of honor killing or issue or discrimination being faced by the couples where they belongs to two different caste identity. Fine. At the same times, this marriage is still as an institution of sacrament, it still brings solidarity and togetherness. In the marriage ceremony, mostly preferred this intra-caste marriage, in which what exactly the kins gathers and they feel the kind of solidarity among themselves. Fine. So these are exactly the arguments you have to write on this marriage as a sacrament, or it's losing its value in a modern Indian society in a present analysis, or do you think? So you have to give this argument in a positive and negative. And a conclusion, you can put this idea of westernization. Due to this westernization, in fact in this whole paper you have to highlight this idea, because of this influence of westernization or industrialization, the people's value is being changed. Earlier Indian society, most of them used to be lived in villages, or they were small scale society or the traditional society, where this issues such as caste, religion are dominating factor. But now, as with the rise of this westernization or the industrial society, you can observe there is a change in this concept of marriages in India. Fine. So, this you can put in the conclusion part. So, this was all about this first question. Fine. So, now come to the second part. Explain why suicide. Second question is a very good question as well as followed by the UPSC. This question is all about saying explain why suicide among young women. Suicide, now catchword is what? Suicide. Explain why suicide among young women is increasing in Indian society. Increasing in Indian society. So, this is specifically talking about this idea of suicide with reference to this rise of suicide among this young Indian women. Fine. So, guys, this question again has some introduction part and body. In introduction, you have to define what is suicide exactly. Suicide, if you define it, is what exactly? This is an act of self-destruction where the victims know this result will produce the same. Fine. So, this is you can give a very crisp definition of the suicide. Okay. So, this you can give definition of the suicide, or you can give some data with respect to the suicide, increase in suicide in Indian society. Fine. Here you have a data out of this 1.6 lakh, out of 1.6 lakh individual commit suicide in India last year. So, last year 1.6 lakh individual committed suicide in India, and this is a report of NCRB, National Crime Record Bureau, and among this 45,000 approx women, especially the women, committed suicide. Fine. And this is up from the previous year exactly. This women suicide is up. That was approx 44,498. It means close to 44,000, and now it has reached to 45,000. This was 2020 data, and this was 2021. So, now you can see there is a rise in this suicide cases among Indian women. If I say it another word, this is like in every 9 minutes, it means one woman every 9 minutes commit suicide in India. So, this data, in fact, if you introduce your answer with this data, this could be very much catchy, or this gives the impression that with respect to this flow of the question. Okay. Now, come to this idea of suicide. Okay. Why? What is this? What is the reason behind this rise in the suicide in India? So, here you will write many of this argument in a body part. So, why there is a rise in suicide cases of young women in India? Why there is an increase? So, first question is what exactly? Mental pressure. You can see, give this first, mental pressure, or rise in mental health issue. Fine. And this is why it has happened, because of this imbalance between work and personal life. Fine. Also, in the next, rise in materialism. in the society. The third argument, first is mental pressure, imbalance between work and personal life, rise in materialism. As materialism is increasing, this idea of calculability or this idea of material goal are getting risk being very much profound in Indian society. So the people are got like, they try to stick to this, but when they fail or they don't have a means to achieve these goals, they resort to the idea of suicide, and this is mostly happening in this urban part also. Again, what are these issues? Family burden or the idea of patriarchy. This is an important thing, important in fact pressure which is being given by this patriarchy. Patriarchy, a system which is male dominated. So in this male dominated society, women face dual burden. For example, in terms of the care economy, she has to take care of the family as well as manage this whole work if she is working, and many of time their work is also being looked down upon by the member of the society. So this is all coming from this whole, this patriarchy. Okay. You can also add this idea of Durkheim is given with respect to the society, respect to the young women in India. So Durkheim idea of society, Durkheim society. To explain, but this Durkheim exactly had found, he gave this definition of suicide. He said there are two types of suicidogenic current. Current in society. He gave this two, because of this two factor. One is regulation, another is integration. He says suicide happens in a society because of the two factor, this over regulation and integration. Regulation is something which is a constant other social control in the society, and which is affects through multiple social norms, behaviors, values. Okay, and again this integration, this closeness. Okay, so this regulation part exactly, this is further divided. He said this is, there is a high regulation, this leads to the fatalistic kind of society. When the regulation is very much high, and when the regulation is very much low, this lead to anomic kind of society. And again this integration, he says because of more integration also suicides happen in society, and because of less integration also more cases of societies can be seen, cases of suicide can be seen in the societies, such as integration. So we have a more integration, altruism. Altruism kind of society, you can say. So this integration. So here this fatalistic kind of society exactly when regulation is very much more through multiple social control. For example, the cases of widows, of a woman, husband dies, all this relatives and all the society member pressurize that woman, or she is made as a scapegoat for the death of his husband, and the whole post death scenario has been made as in a way that become very much misery for that particular lady to sustain further. Okay, so this is exactly you can apply on this theory, on this, because of this Durkheim fatalistic kind of. So this also you can apply on this idea of suicide, why there is a rise in this suicide among the Indian women. Fine. So this argument you can put on this, why there is a rise, in the suicide cases of among the Indian women or the young women. Mental pressure, and this is the more highlighting part, patriarchy is most of the, and this patriarchy is also lead to what exactly this idea. If you will give another So what exactly? Another argument you can give. Sexual violence at workplace, role of care economy. Care economy is like exactly women has to share this dual burden, managing household as well as the managing the work. Cases of domestic violences, okay. So these are the argument you will put why there is a rise in the suicide cases among the young women in India. Again, if the question is signifying towards a problem, you have to give the solution for that particular problem. Okay. So in the way forward, or in this conclusion part, or the way forward, you have to give suggestion. Suggestion 1 or the way forward could be this idea of socialization. You have to bring awareness, or you have to eliminate this tendency of patriarchal mindset or this patriarchy from the social and economic system, from this whole decision making. So here the initial socialization is very much handled. This family can teach their children with respect to this issue of patriarchy or the gender sensitization. Government schemes you can promote. Sukanya Samriddhi Yojana, for example, Beti Bachao Beti Padhao, Sabla scheme. This you can quote as an example. Again, proper and effective implementation of existing law such as Maternity Benefit Act, Domestic Violence Act, recommendation or the application of Verma Committee report on workplace sexual violences, you can also give impetus with respect to this local participation, to sensitize this issue, such as the use of PRI institution, Anganwadi, self-help group, to improve this situation of women. A proper, again, counseling and mental health helpline. So these are the ways, there are multiples in fact. Okay, so you can give in this conclusion or way forward part. Fine. So this is exactly, you will flow through this, you will go through this answers. Fine. So now come to the next, the third question. The third question in this series exactly which have been asked by the UPSC, this child cuddling is now being replaced by the mobile phone. Discuss in impact on the socialization of children. Is the now catch it was exactly child cuddling and this mobile phone, and exactly this is putting whole emphasis on the socialization of the children. So this question of this exactly signifies to or indicates towards the problem of inefficient socialization due to inclusion or advent of disruptive technologies. The rise of IT, rise of mobile phone, exactly how they have brought this change in this aspect of socialization. Fine. So this introduction, and again body part. In this introduction you have to start your answer with giving definition of the socialization. Fine. Here you will have to write socialization is what exactly? This is a process, a social process through which an individual in the society learns the norms and the values of the society. Fine. So this exactly through which we instill the value, the norms or the proper behavior in the development of the individual. So you can start to answer with this idea of socialization. But in this question exactly the central theme I was saying was this child cuddling, which used to be done by the parents or the relatives, which used to instill many kind of behavior within that child. It has been taken away by this mobile phones. Now this kids are more involved into this mobile gaming. So this ultimately they have like open to this world of information. There are multiple ones and this information is very much value neutral. There could be positive side of it and also the negative side of it. So you have to write this socialization, it has been replaced by, so it has a positive and it has its own negative. So here I will write this in the body part, you have to give this negative and positive. So if I say negative, what is this issue? When this cuddling has been taken away as a being prime or the instrument of socialization by this mobile phone, it is leading to what? The problems of such as value transmission. The first argument you will set here, value transmission. In this child cuddling, the parent or the relatives try to teach the kids how to respect the children, how to respect the elders, what is this different meaning of different relations in the society, on how they have to behave in a particular manner which is socially sanctioned. So this value transmission is very much impeded in this case of mobile driven socialization. Fine. Value transmission, again this also leads to the problem of delayed emotional development. Emotional development. This mobile phone has changed what exactly? It has detached these kids from this real life situation. So this person has become very much emotionally neutral. So there is a very much less development of emotional or EQ, emotional quotient among the children, because it is very much necessary in this present world to have EQ simultaneously with IQ. In fact, the focus is more on this development of EQ. Okay, this emotional regulation, how they will regulate their emotion when there is a dilemma just before it. So this exactly impeded in this mobile socialization or this mobile driven or technology driven socialization. Again, this also lead to this problem of low cognitive development. This ultimately, this emotional development, this value transmission is man is all exactly its value. The principle is learned from the society, and exactly what happened through this process. This lead to this break in this transmission of cognitive ideas into the child. So third argument will set here again, too much time on the mobile also expose the children to harmful rays just coming out from the mobile, or also because of this, these kids are very much restricted to the home, they do not go outside, and because of this is also impede their physical activity or the capacity. Health impacts. Another point on the negative you can write as what, this too much time in this mobile expose children to this idea of cyberbullying. Cyberbullying. So many of these cases you can see is where the money has been extorted in this name of cyber bullying from the children. You can also quote or give the example if you will find in this newspaper with respect to each of this topic. This will add some beauty to your answers. Again, here is also set another argument, because of this low cognitive development or the emotional development, the kids are very much detached from this real life. So this real life detachment is there, which could lead to the problem of alienation. This kids over the period of time will find himself or herself to be unfit for this society, and this will lead to a kind of isolation or detachment or disenchantment in this development of kid. Again, this also expose this idea of many of this unauthorized content in the web, and they expose to this idea of pornography. So this all are exactly this the argument which is goes against this tech driven socialization in the society. Now, but at the same times it also has the positive. So you have to write this on the body part, the positive. Positive is what exactly we've seen after this COVID. There are multiple sprouting of this edutech industries. Here this distance barrier has been bridged by this edutech company which are internet based. So far away places this people or the students are connected with this quality content or this academic development you can observe. So more of this expansion of educational choices which helps to the bridge this regional gap or regional divide, class divide, caste divide. So this now the poor kid also can avail this quality education in a less cost. Fine. In fact, in this respect you can also give this idea of what exactly this positive side. In 2019 a group Pew this has conducted a research, it's called Pew research, which has conducted a survey. It has been done nearly it has been found in this near 3/4 or 3/5 almost of Indian considered mobile is good for themselves and for their children and overall society. Okay, so they have seen this mobile, this is like what a new edge of this technology, a disruptive kind of thing, but this is also many of this beneficial which you can associate with this positive side of this mobile driven socialization. Fine. So, this you have to write in this negative and positive. Okay. So, in this conclusion you can give this idea that now this is impossible to immune this whole socialization process without involving any kind of technology. So, technology would be there, this is a future. So, for that very purpose what you have to do, government has to bring proper regulation with respect to curtailing this idea of pornography, cyberbullying or right to privacy, or at the same times this content should also be managed at central level. The government could also, at the same time the family could also imposes a kind of control with respect to this socialization. So, here you can give this idea of, so this is about the whole answer exactly. So, you have to go accordingly. Fine. So, now come to this the next one, the fourth question we have: does urbanization lead to more segregation? Here the catchword is what? Urbanization lead to more segregation or marginalization. They are being thrown at the margin. So, this urbanization is leading to what? Segregation or marginalization of the poor in India metropolises, question mark. So, again in this same you have to give two set of argument. First, the argument urbanization leading to segregation or the marginalization of the certain community or the people. Fine. And again how this urbanization also helps to give them basic amenities to the urban poor or the community. Fine. So, this again come to this. So, again this question start with introduction and body. Introduction, you have to define this urbanization. Urbanization is what exactly? The shift of population from urban area, from rural area to urban area. Fine. And this exactly urbanizations take place, or you can see another is expansion of this urban kind of settlement. Fine. Expansion of this urban space, there is a shift in this population from rural to urban. This is the whole idea of this urbanization, and this urbanization is leading to what exactly? Segregation or marginalization, as well as this is also lead to the inclusion. How? We will try to give this in a two counter arguments. First for the positive, first for the negative of this urbanization, and second is positive of this whole. So, this urbanization exactly you can this contradiction, and this happened because of the two factor, that is push factor and pull factor. Push factor are those factor which exactly pressurize that individuals to migrate for the city. For example, low level of economic activity, caste discrimination, lack of health and education infrastructure, So, these are the push factor. Again the pull factor, which is a city offer, the pull factor is exactly is what? Better economic opportunities, better civic services, hospital, educational institution, etc. Fine. So, this are exactly comes under. So you have to define this urbanization in such a manner. Again, on this body part, you have to give this two set of argument, that is negative of this urbanization and the positive of this urbanization. So negative side, if I say, and also after urbanization you have to define this exactly this marginalization. Okay, so in this socio-economic development they are at the fringe, at the margin. So why this urbanization leads to this marginalization? So this is all exactly how this marginalization exactly all this negative of the urbanization. You have to write what exactly in this part, the rise in ghettos, so these ghettos are exactly the place which has a very less public space, the water sanitation facilities minimal, no amenities or the basic infrastructure is there. There the shanty colony is very much dirty. These are the place where most diseases. Okay, so these are the ghettos. Again, this rise in ghettos, the next negative of this urbanization, right, is what exactly? This rise in diseases or a spread of diseases, lack of drinking water and sanitation facilities, sanitation facilities, discrimination between in a public places, fine. So these are the argument you can put on this negative side. And this what exactly, this exactly help when there is a less shortage of this urban is sinking, they have a very much less, they are getting less in terms of this urban space, fine. Rise in crimes in these ghettos, the issue of child delinquency, drug abuse, rise in cases of domestic violence. So there are multiple issues which you can observe in the urban space, which is related or restricted to this urban poor. Poverty is all about what exactly, this idea of powerlessness. So these are the urban poor who face all this kind of exclusion. So this lead to exactly this exclusion, this inequality, exclusion in this urban space lead to the idea of marginalization of that particular community which reside in this urban area, fine. So same, this has given this word, like we have discussed this negative, this is what exactly the positive, you have to write the positive exactly. As you have seen to this urban space, those now you have a more of this economic as well as social opportunities, more numbers of good numbers of network of government run hospitals and schools or colleges. In the urban area, their caste identities become very much eroded and they saved from this caste discrimination which they used to face at their village. So relatively, if I say less caste discrimination, because this urban space is a mostly industrial society, and that is they lay less emphasis on this caste identity overall or your social identity. Fine. Again this problem, this urbanization, this expose you to the multiple kind of opportunities, so which is the urban space. So this is again what two set of argument, one is for against this urbanization lead to the marginalization of the people, and you have to write in this negative, and again this urbanization also offer multiple opportunity to this urban poor. So this is again, this also help you to make them included in this whole process, or this is the whole idea of this. What exactly? This avoid this idea of social exclusion or marginalization of these people. So exactly, so you have to get this positive and negative of this both, and again in a conclusion. Okay, so you can make these answers very much, in fact this can also add many beauties of this. For example, we are discussing this negative, so you can also give this example in SDGs, self sustainable development goal 1, 2, 3, and these are like okay, so this also you can give this, so you can add many of this example on this whole paper. On this conclusion you have to this urbanization exam, so you can suggest many of this scheme of this government. Okay, you can introduce this concept of Pura providing urban amenities in rural area, or a controlled urbanization, or the sustainable urbanization you can give in this conclusion, or you can add or attach with this idea of self development, sustainable development goal 1, 2, 3 and all. Okay, so you can give in this conclusion part. Fine, you also can give example of many of this government scheme in this whole answers. Fine guys, so this was all about this, the fourth one. So we have completed this fourth. The next question exactly in this line is what? Why is caste identity in India is both fluid and static? Why? Why there is a caste identity in India both fluid and statics? So again, this caste identity, which gives you the answer is what? This is what? Static or fluid. Caste identity here it means static. This is a major, this static part is this caste identities, like such caste identities or the tradition still being followed, or the practices or the ritual still being followed, that has not been wean away. Fine, and this fluidity is exactly talking about this eradication or this amalgamation of this caste identity, or they are very much fluid in nature. So we will give two argument in this set. So as it is like this, again we have to decide was this introduction part, introduction and the body. In the introduction you have to give this idea of what is caste system or the caste exactly. Fine, caste is a system which is based on, you have to give the definition of the caste is a system which is based on this idea of purity of pollution. Caste has been origin from the Portuguese terms casta. Okay, so this means exactly on this it is based on the Varna system. You have this, like you can give the historical evolution, also you can give this definition of the caste. Fine, this is ascriptive in nature. Fine, you can give definition of this caste in this introduction part. And this body part, you have to give one set of argument, caste as a static thing. Okay, so again, why this caste is static? So the caste is static in India because of following static. You have to write this argument, the segmental division of the society. Segmental division of society. Fine. So this is what exactly caste works as a stratification system, where there is a ritual hierarchy, where this one caste is one above the other, and this exactly structure is based on this idea of purity and pollution. When you go up in the hierarchy, the purity aspect increases, and we go down in the hierarchy, purity aspect decreases. Fine. So this exactly segmentation, this is more of rigid in nature. A Brahmin cannot become a Kshatriya, or Kshatriya cannot become a Dalit, or Dalit cannot become a Brahmin. So this is vice versa. So this is more a segmental kind of thing, which is very much a static part of this caste system. Fine. So now this second argument you will list this based on hierarchy, and this hierarchy is what? This hierarchy is attached with, related with idea of privilege and disprivilege. When you are up in the hierarchy, you have a more privilege. When you are low in the hierarchy, you have less privileges. So you have to give this idea of hierarchy. This caste is what? A hierarchical structure based on purity and pollution, where different awards and different kind of privilege or disprivilege are attached with respect to this hierarchy. So this argument you will put, and again you have to write this ban or the social rituals, for example the tradition, caste tradition, or another word, ban on intermingling, okay. So this like ban on intercourse or the marriage. Here is what follow, this is as endogamous, caste is a endogamous system. So this is very much the marriage between only two same caste. Fine. And interdining is what exactly? This, the food cooked by a Dalit couldn't be touched by the upper caste. You can here also give the example of it exactly. Many cases of this honor killing, many cases of this intercaste marriage where such things exactly happens, okay. Or also in many of these schools where the food cooked by a Dalit cook has been refused by most of the student who belongs to a particular community. So such example you can quote in this. Fine. Again, next argument. Also this caste hierarchy attached with the civil and social privileges. Such caste privileges, if you are associated with a particular group, you can feel this privileges or the disprivileges. Again, this is based on this choice of occupation. Still many of this occupation is considered very much menial, or which is restricted to only certain community. Fine. So this exactly you would give the arguments with respect to the caste as a static thing. Fine. Now caste is a fluid in nature. This caste hierarchy has been blurred. This line has been blurred. How? This fluidity, for this purpose you have to write this answer. Very first argument you have to set in exactly the idea of Sanskritization. The idea of Sanskritization. This is given by the MN Sridhar, which says Sanskritization is the process of elite emulation, where this lower caste people or the tribal people emulate the lifestyle of upper caste people in this manner, exactly that lower caste relinquish all these defiling activities such as eating non-vegetarian, eating non-veg, consuming liquors, and this whole process they claim the status equal to the dominant caste or the upper caste of that particular area. So this Sanskritization process exactly happens in many examples. MS Sridhar is given the example of Kurg of Mysore. F. G. Bailey, a scholar, has given the example of this at a toddy tapper caste in Bisipada village of Odisha. So this example you can quote. In fact, in many of this caste, this Sanskritization process is very much happening. So this fluidity is being maintained. Again, what is this? Disassociation between castes is now in this modern term is the knowledge economy. You can observe disassociation of caste with occupation. You can see many of this now, this is not considered as like bad, or it's not considered like ritually not sanctioned. For example, a Brahmin could be the owner of a leather processing company. Fine. So such things you can observe here. There is a mix of this occupation and caste. Again, you can observe this idea of weakening of this idea of purity and pollution. Purity and pollution. Fine. This idea, this caste hierarchy is based on this idea of purity and pollution, but because of this rise in industrialization or more of this westernization, exactly in this modern time, you can observe such aspect of purity and pollution has been done away with, or it is being decreasing with time. Fine. So more cases of intercaste marriage or more cases of such community inter-community marriage you can observe here. Okay. So you can also quote this argument again. You can also give this politicization of the caste or democratization of the caste. Democratization of caste. Here is what now this group is been found on this basis of caste identities. More of you can see many of these groups, for example, they belongs to a particular community, BSP, Bahujan Samaj Party, this Chandrasekhar Azad, this like many of this like have this many of this institution or the political institution is based on this caste identity. The idea of Dalit capitalism, Dalit music, exactly. So this exactly is lead to the fluidity aspect in this whole caste system, or this the idea of caste. Okay, fine. So in this conclusion, you have to write ki caste is an important feature of Indian society, but with over the period of time, because of the scientific temper, development of scientific temper or the rationalization of society, many of this aspect of rigid aspect of this caste system has been done away with, okay, or has not been existent, or they are not prevalent. But there are multiple cases of caste atrocities or the caste conflict can be seen, where the government can do lots of things with respect to many of this program or the policy of the government you can quote, and also you can give this example of this constitutional aspects also. So you can increase the beauty of this answer. Fine. So this was all the second last question. Again, now come to the last one. The last question of the series, the sixth question from this Indian society in the GS1 is discuss the impact of post-liberal economy on ethnic identity and communalism. On ethnic identity and communalism. It means this we have to discuss or we have to analyze this impact of post-liberal economy on ethnic identity. India is made of multiple ethnic community, and this idea of what is the impact of this post-liberal economy on this idea of ethnic identity and communalism. Fine. So this has again two-part introduction and body. Fine. Here guys, first we have to introduce what is this whole post liberal economy. Fine. So this exactly you have to do it, because this exactly many of this time we find it difficult, and this post liberal, and I have seen also on this many of these people took it in a very vague manner. This post liberal economy, so is liberal economy is what exactly? Liberal economy says more emphasis on this idea of globalization, market economy, idea of individualism. Fine. So this post liberal economy reject this idea of market economy. Fine. So this post liberal world economy, or this post liberal economy, this is more emphasizing on this idea of communitarian, solidarity, social solidarity. Okay, and this economic reciprocity. तो मैं क्या करूं? Come on, I have like finish तो करने ही, come on, last है, आ रहा हूँ, ठीक है? उनको बोलो, सुनो ना, just fine. So guys, this is not exactly post-liberal economy. This liberal economy, what exactly it is emphasis on this idea of market economy, the idea of globalization, or this individualism overall. Fine. So this is mainly associated with this idea of capitalism. So this post-liberal economy, but this post-liberal economy is more emphasizing on this idea that reject all this view of globalization, market economy, individualism. They more focus on this idea of communitarism. Okay, there is more idea of society, social order, or this economic reciprocity. For example, you being a member of a society, okay, for example, you have individual goals or individual right, exactly, but at the same times you have to be like a reciprocity, a kind of reciprocity is there between this individual and the society. You take a lot from the society. So now responsibility is what exactly? To put on this idea of economic reciprocity. So this post-liberal, you have to give definition on this as an introduction part. Okay, fine. So now on this body part, guys, you have to analyze this impact on ethnicity and communalism. So here you have to give argument. Okay. So this is more like give this impact of ethnicity on this post-liberal world. Exactly, they are more focusing on this idea of what? Inequality. Inequality in society. Earlier, because of this modern economy, market economy, there is a rise in this. What? There is a rise in this gap between rich and poor, or the rich become richer, poor become poorer. So this inequality explained. They are more focusing on this reduction of this inequality on this. So this impact is what? There is a reduction in the inequality in the society, or this income disparity, or this economic disparity. Okay, fine. And this exactly again happened in this post-liberal world. You can see the politicization of such ethnic identity. Many of this ethnic identity exactly has been politicized. Many have been group has been, and for that very purpose, what is ethnicity? This is what exactly? This ethnicity is exactly a shared culture. Okay, which is shared by each and every member. Shared culture, the language, Rahansan and language, everything that's come into this idea of ethnicity. So this has led to what? This impact of post-liberal world. There is, we have seen the rises of this political ethnicity based organization, or this you can see this political mobilization of this ethnic group has happened in this post-liberal world. Again, due to this post-liberal policies, more of cases of migration and urbanization is happening. So this exactly happening, this migration and urbanization is more leading to fluidity of this ethnic identity. Now this value is becoming more weak or is getting weaker over the period of time. Again, this lead to, again what's impact, you can observe this more of this cases of, many of these cases you can observe social cohesion, the cases of social cohesion, okay, and tension you can observe more cases. Again, this in this post liberal economy, this impact on ethnic inequality, you can observe this, many of this idea of empowering communities. They are focusing more on this empowering community through the instrument of PRI institutions, self-help groups, which are mostly these people, or the people here are exactly, they have share the same kind of social identity, belong to the language or caste or whatever exactly. So they have the same identity and they are being formed into this modern instrument of self-help group and PRI. So this is more of this democratization aspect is also involved in this idea of ethnicity and on this impact of communalization. Fine. So this exactly is lead to what? This impact on ethnicity, and again this impact on communalism. This idea, this has taken multiple, you have seen this multiple politicization of different communal groups. They have more come into this idea of electoral form of democratic medium, exactly democratized politicization and the more forming of such political. So more of this democratization of such groups, enhanced fluidity due to weakening of cultural identity with respect to the onset of globalization and westernization. More of cases where this idea of nationalism is attached with sub-nationalist tendencies such as communalism. Many of this, observe this phenomena, you can give example in many of this, in religious procession or in this many of this gathering, people are having, at one time they are saying Bharat Mata Ki Jai and they are having this flag at their hand and they are have this ideology which is based on this communalism. So such incidences you can see, or the impacts you can observe on this communalism in India. So this is all about, and here is also you have give the conclusion with respect to this ethnicity and communalism, both are the sub-nationalist tendency. The government has to do, or the made effort with respect to make this communalization issues and ethnic issues shouldn't be. Here is government has to give more emphasis on this socio-economic development, because this exactly the whole idea behind this idea of ethnicity or any of this divide that happened because of this socio-economic gap in the development, which has been taken as an advantage by the British of the socio-economic gap. Okay, so here is also society is a divide. So in this happened exactly this economic disparity among this community leads to this idea of sense of relative deprivation, and this sense of relative deprivation ultimately lead to this idea of communalization or this mobilization of the people along a certain identity. So you have to focus more onto this, and here also government can bring many of this program to affect this, and mainly of the socio-economic development and the participation of the PRI institutions or the local leaders to form a proper policy. So this was all about the 6 Indian society questions which has been asked in UPSC. So guys, best of luck. Prepare accordingly, because this is exactly this previous year questions of this, or this the question has been asked in this mains examination. It will give you a it's like a torchlight for you. You can start preparation in this line what they have given this idea in this whole question by the UPSC. So thank you, thanks a lot.